Hello everyone and welcome to Vex Warfield. Tonight I'm not sure which direction I'm going to be going, but let's make it fun. A little bit of stuff in the background here to, I don't know, set the mood. Hope that's coming through clear. Hey God's Night, how you doing? So far how's the audio going? The music is too iron too. I can I get a translation? Okay. Thank you. All right. There was several different subjects that I was kicking around today for the show. I couldn't really come up with one thing in particular, but that never seems to matter much. So, yeah, random. Yeah, I'm rolling dice over here. But yeah, there's so much happening that we could talk about any number of things. I mean, hell, just recently, Colin Powell dies. I know some people, liked him and stuff like that, but as far as I'm concerned, he's just another one of the puppets, that lied to Congress and to the American people. So, I don't wish, ill towards him or anything like that, even though he's already dead. But hey, Scrimshaw, good to see you. But he's still a part of the same corporate structure that I think is killing, humanity, to put it realistically. It's all a part of the propaganda and stuff like that we've been lied to so long that we're buying into this stuff. And the people that are currently supposedly occupying Washington are essentially assholes. They're trying to kill us. I mean, just to put it down to the base facts of it, over the years they've been slowly trying to kill us off, make us into pharma babies, as in big pharma. I don't know. So, I mean, if Powell died from, basically his own bioweapon, or well, maybe not his very own, but the people that made it are the same people that he works for and lied for. Well, seems kind of poetic to me. And that's enough for me to talk about. I mean, as far as that goes. Our government, or what appears to be our government, is our enemy, and it has been for a very long time. And only we can change it. Damn, I'm starting to go down this, yeah. Exactly, bait and switch. Hey, Oki, good to see you. But I didn't really want to go necessarily down the politics trail. But like I like saying over and over and over again, everything is connected. So where I could stay on one side of an issue or the other side of an issue, it's all connected together. Exactly, his time was up. And for a lot of those people, their times couldn't be up fast enough as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, like I said, I don't wish any ill will towards anyone. But life would be so much better if we didn't have them actively working against us. I find it very sad. Very, very sad. Because the humanity in itself has such potential. And this is something they know. You know, I put they in quotes. Fill in the blank, you know, whatever. But it's something they want. They want all this. They've made it happen. They want it so much. Made it happen. Hey, survival. Good to see you. But they want the chaos. They want the division. They want all this. And on top of all that, they're poisoning our air, our food, our water, our minds, our spirit. And it's a very difficult thing to try and keep your negative feelings at bay. Very difficult. And this is something that I personally know about. Very angry person growing up. You can go back in my other videos. I talk about that, you know, at length. But they want this chaos. Hey, Smiley Bat. Haven't seen you in a while. Good to see you. But we have to put as much positive forward. The more positive you put out, the more it will reverberate and catch on. Good example of that would be you smile at someone who might be having a hard day. Just passing them by on the street. You smile. They return the smile. Then that smile catches on and they want to give it to others as they go through. Or they might help somebody with their groceries or whatever. Just small acts of kindness will raise the positivity immensely. Because positive is more. I know everybody will probably want to go, no, but positivity is more powerful than negativity. Negativity is easier, most definitely. But positivity, way more powerful. Now, I might not be the most positive person in the world, but I put forth an effort. I have to sometimes take, I might be agitated. I take that and put it off to the side until I deal with it. Once you deal with it, it loses its power. That's what everybody has to do. Get to know yourself, and that positivity will become almost easy to do. Fat Dog Stray, good to see you, brother. Exactly. They have to be responsible for themselves. Yes, and part of that is looking within yourself. Now, I spent, most of my life trying to figure out who and what I was. Now, it might sound like an easy task, but it's not. I thought growing up that I was one of the, I'll put it bluntly. I thought I was one of the mentally retarded people because I thought differently than most everybody else. And quite frankly, most of my family would treat me as such. So I never thought I could string enough sentences together to actually do a YouTube or anything like that. I've said it before, this is one of those things that's completely out of my comfort zone. But I know in facing this and getting out of my comfort zone in this way helps me progress as just a human being. Because quite frankly, growing up, I was lopsided in my emotions and my feelings and all that stuff. Everything was negative around me. That's all I felt. So doing this is kind of like flipping the coin. Now, not that I'm encouraging everybody to do YouTube channels, because quite frankly, most people are. The market is saturated. But doing something simple, such as, someone's having a hard day, just give them, you don't even have to solve their problem. Listen to it. Maybe talk to them about it a little bit, but just listen. Lots of people just want to know they've been heard. and keeping yourself available to listen. Sometimes it's just that reaching out and going, hey, if you want to talk, I'll be more than happy to. Just knowing that somebody is willing to. Something that small could be huge to them. I'm not saying go out and change the world, but as a group, individually, together, we can. And that goes back to what I was saying. The more positivity you put out, the more you'll return. It might not be as much at first because, quite frankly, we're dealing with a lot of negativity in this world. But the more we try, the better we get. Practice makes perfect. Now, on that note, I want to bring up a panel of people and just to kind of hang out and talk about whatever's on your mind. Like I said, no real structure in what's going on tonight. Just me hanging out with some buddies online. So here we go with the link. So get y'all butts up here. Let's have a powwow. But it's just small things. Small things will accumulate. They'll build. And it will be noticeable. Eventually, if nothing else. Hello, Survival.
Hey, what's up, man? I got to mic up real quick.
All right.
I'll be right back.
Sure thing. But just little acts of kindness. I know it sounds weird. Somebody who's talking about, how angry I grew up and all that stuff, talking about putting forth acts of kindness. But even when I was at my angriest, somebody reaching out a hand, just saying, I'll listen, or hello, or how you doing? Seem like you might be down, whatever. Just getting that interest helped. It made me realize that not everybody was like my family.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean, and you're 100% right about that. If you really never know what anybody is thinking, there's a word for that, a term for that word. It's kind of when you think about how it's a term. I don't know if it's German or something, but it's the term when you're thinking about how you don't know anything about what everybody else is thinking. There's some term for that. I forget it, but they might just need a little bit of positive energy in their life, and if you're there, you can give it.
Yeah,
there's a butterfly effect.
Absolutely, I've seen it happen. I mean, it's one of those things that's been proven. I mean, they can go into science and prove it, and they have. But just think about back in high school. You were having a great day for some reason, whatever. But you just smiled at somebody. And that person smiled at other people. And then that person smiled at people. And then that smile. And then that smile. And then another person. And then another person. It's very contagious.
Are you talking about when Dylan Shanahan's little sister smiled at me in 9th grade?
Yes.
And it made my day. Is that what you're talking about? Because I could tell. Dude,
that's exactly what I mean. That's what I'm saying, though. But in that regard, did you return or pay it forward? Did you smile at somebody else and they smile?
I was probably all smiles all day, man. Who knows?
There you go. Yeah, I guarantee it had an effect on those around you.
Just having a good day, positive energy emitting all out of my, just bopping around, feeling good.
Now, on the other hand of that,
my whole life.
Yeah. And on the other hand of that,
I'm not a negative guy.
Yeah, see, back when I was Mr. Negativity for a long time, I could feel the other negativity from others around me. I'm sure that spread just the same. I think wholeheartedly. Because whenever I was around people, people didn't want to be around me because I was always negative. And it makes perfect sense in hindsight to me, but at the time, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't put it all together until I was older. Now I'm just hoping that people can use any experiences like that I've had and use it to help themselves. Looking within yourself and drawing deep. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I'm listening to you, and just thinking realistically and holistically with the lives we live. If you're in a bad mood, I'm just gonna try to put what you just said into layman's terms that I can understand, and you tell me if I'm right.
Right on.
So if you're just always constantly feeling bad about yourself, or if you're in a bad mood and you're feeling down on yourself, or maybe something bothering you, I mean, you're not going to be emitting some positive energy out there. But if you are working towards positivity, and if you are, I mean, there's got to be something, a trigger somewhere that like gets you into that positive, because you got to get triggered into the positive realm where you're like, oh, this is what I need all the time. I got to be positive. I got to spread the positive, because it's easy to get sucked into the negative where you almost want to just dwell on why it's bad for you or something. But if you can channel that positivity, and I don't know if everybody gets enough to give. Like, I know that I have an abundance of positivity to give, and I don't know that if everybody has that or not.
Well, everybody has at least a small amount. Yeah, I believe everybody has at least a small amount, and all you got to do is draw upon it. Really, I mean, even when I was in my prime of, being a hateful little shit, I still had that small bit of, I'll just call it good humanity. Like if I saw somebody that, was hurt, fell off their bike or something like that, I wanted to help. But it was my, anger and all that stuff that made me go, fuck them. You know what I mean? But I still had that spark in me.
Yeah, I should probably help that guy. Yeah, I don't know, man. I've always kind of had a helper spirit most of the time. I got bullied for having it, even, like being too friendly and stuff.
Yeah.
People would be like, why are you so friendly? Kick your ass. You're too friendly.
Well, see, when I was a young kid, we'll just say under 10, I was one of those, if you would have met me then, you would have been like, oh, that guy's a born sucker. I mean, because I was trusting in everyone. I mean, all I wanted to do was make people laugh by doing goofy things, and be a clown, basically. That's all I wanted to do. I wanted to make people laugh. But slowly over time, it got beat out of me, metaphorically and somewhat physically. And it got me into this point where I was just like, oh, everybody is not worth making laugh. Everybody is not worth me trying to expend my emotions and input or invest my emotions in them, because every time I get hurt from it. So it made me angry. And then you grow up and start hearing about, all the stuff that's happening in the world and all that stuff. And then you see what's going on around you. And you're just like, everybody's a fucking prick. So I should be a fucking prick too. Now, granted, like I said, I'm young and dumb and, that type of stuff happens. And most people will fall into that. But it wasn't until later, and it involved a girl.
I agree, though. I could see it too. Like, so you're talking young. You're talking like middle school, or maybe even before middle school a little bit, like 10.
Yeah, this is basically something that's been
junior high. Like you could see like the hive minds going on back in those days. You could see who was working with who and how people were clicking up. There's clicks. You could see it happening right before your very eyes. I know I could. And so at a certain age, when you're a young man, you got to start making some decisions. And you're like pre-pubescent, so you don't fucking know any better. So you're doing things in your mind, man. It's like, I'll let you go on. But yeah, it's a mind fuck. Like, it's systematic.
Yeah. It was always one of those things. It was never, for me growing up, it was never like, oh, this happened and that changed everything. No, it was several small things in succession that basically beat me down over time. And by the time I got to high school, I had pretty much given up on humanity as a whole. Everybody's a dick. Everybody's out to screw you over. And the best thing you could do is try and be smarter than them. So it was like that killer mindset, which, you know, gave me an edge, but it also took an edge away.
I think I know what you mean, a little bit. I mean, when it was that, I mean, it was, we all read the book, what's that, The Lord of the Flies, like just in high school, you know, or middle school, right when they threw us all in there. So that was kind of how my mindset was like looking around at everybody, like, you know, whatever. I may be the alpha guy around here. I don't know, but I wasn't, dude, and I got beat up and shit.
Oh yeah,
I survived. Yeah.
Yeah, most people can relate to that.
It's just one.
I mean, not everybody was the
when you're
jock
a kid,
or,
you know. Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
You grow up, but I don't think it's happening very often anymore. Maybe it's worse these days. I really don't know what it is like to be a kid these days, right?
Well, you can take what we've learned
on these kids.
Well, we learned over the years, and we're adults now, but take all that we've learned in high school and even in hindsight, and now take that and put it in a bowl and shake it the fuck up and then spill it back out on the ground, because that's what they're dealing with. I mean, everything is online, and they put so much emotion into this online life that it seems like it's more real than it is offline in real life. And hey, Nate, good to see you, brother.
Wild. It is really wild with the amount of emotion people will really put into online life, and they're not doing any energy outside in the real world. It's
Right.
really weird to me.
Yeah, I grew up always wanting to be outside. If nothing else than riding my bike up and down the damn street. I didn't want to sit inside because everything was boring inside. And, well, honestly, you know, my parents fought a lot and junk like that, so I didn't want to be around anyway. So, yeah, everything was about being outside and being active in some way. And that's something that's very lost on today's youth. Everything is about watching YouTube or, you know, playing video games or something like that. It's not encouraging this critical thinking that all our children need. Critical thinking in itself is something that made us great, made us into the nation we basically have come to lose. Because, I mean, IQs were boosted back in, the 50s, because they figured out iodine actually did that, and there was a eye efficiency. There always has been in our culture, because, quite frankly, most of the iodine came from seafood, fresh seafood. And they found out that it actually raises your IQ points like 5 to 10 points. Just taking iodine on the regular.
Now, this is because of what? Was it more the Northern European countries that are eating this type of fish, or where's this iodine coming from?
It's in the ocean.
I think I read something about that, though. I think I read something about it. Like, some of them, there's certain cultures that were eating different types of fish, and like, I think what you're saying is like the iodine. I forget which
part of it is in the iodine itself. Part of it is just, you know, fish is good brain food. But iodine is one of those things that it fills up your oh damn. name of the gland jumped out of my head. Thyroid. It fills up your thyroid gland, keeps it healthy, and plus it gets used throughout your body, and it actually it cleans up the stuff that's in your brain and flushes the gunk out. So that's why it does so well with IQ. Is because it cleans up the gunk in your brain. It flushes it out of your system and puts it out. So that you are actually not having to deal with that fog.
Dude, just imagine if Donald Trump had said that. CNN would be saying, Donald Trump told you to drink iodine. That was what they would say. Donald Trump wants you to drink iodine. Is what. That's exactly what it would say, man. I know.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's definitely.
Not a lot of
if it's good, it's bad. I mean, right now they could combat all this COVID stuff with just saying drink or get your vitamins and get your minerals and be healthy, and you won't get COVID. Or if you do get COVID, it's going to be really, really mild. Oh, well, actually, I should go back to the original naming of it. Real quick, the Salt Lakers. You came on there, but it didn't show you were connected fully. So might want to try it again. But I mean, they knew this way back when, because they actually they bound it to the salt and sold iodized salt. I mean, there it is right there. They already know all this, but yet the mass public doesn't know about it, do they? Because it's easier to control people when they're stupid. And if you don't have all the vitamins and minerals you need in your body, you become stupid. I mean, you will be emotional. You will be irate. What's
facts.
That? Yes.
You're spilling facts, man. I'm just saying. Like, I agree 100%.
Yeah, and it's something that deficiencies in this area contribute to all our problems. It may even be the main focal point of most of our problems. I mean, hell, you know the rumors about America being the fattest nation around? They're right. We're a bunch of fat, lazy fucks and become that way because they want that way. And that's all the more reason not to. Which brings us back towards politics. Whoops. Yeah, salt. But yeah, I mean, it goes along with what I was saying earlier also. If you have a perfect balance of all the vitamins and minerals that you need, then you will be less likely to fly off the handle. You will be less likely to have brain fog. You will be less likely to lose control of yourself in many different ways. And it all stems back to proper nutrition. And
exactly.
And a good outlook.
Positive outlook.
Mm-hmm.
Let me. Indeed. I'm supposed to go take garbage to the street here real quick. I'm gonna.
All right, man. Go take care of business.
My wife is looking at me, but on that note, though, when you're talking about proper nutrition, I know that you're a couple years older than I am, but as far as proper nutrition and as far as children go, families go, you got a mom and dad. You know, when you're growing up as a young kid, you should probably be eating vegetables. Like, I learned how to grow vegetables and stuff. I'm just trying to. It's really quick. But man, what was the? Sorry, what was your last point?
Essentially, that was it. How everybody is in brain fog, even whether they know it or not.
Yeah. So if you have children, or if you're an individual, you should be, taking care of yourself, like you're saying,
right?
But especially with kids, the natural, eating vegetables and not getting your kid all fat. Don't feed your kid chicken nuggets every day.
Oh, that's for damn sure.
Make your kid eat some vegetables and shit. That's how I was raised, but we had like cows and chickens and stuff, so we ate pretty good. I never got fat because I was forced to be an athlete and like a working man. So
There you go.
I was burning calories constantly. Like I had no choice. It was just what my dad made me do. So I didn't question. You really couldn't question this man. He was a really big fucking guy. There was no really question him. So that's where
Yeah.
I'm at now with it all. But yeah, I think you're
Yeah,
spot on with that though. With keeping yourself healthy, the
absolutely.
proper nutrients, the proper nutrients.
It's the root of it. It's the root of it. I know for a fact, and that's just through my research and investigations. I know for a fact that if everybody was healthy in America, we wouldn't be going through all this bullshit with the leftists, because everybody would be looking at them like they were fucking retarded as they are. And real quick, hey Rebel Jack, good to see you. Hey Latin Patriot, good to see you too. And I wasn't taking a jab at anybody out there. At my heaviest weight at 250 and 5'11". So yeah, I understand what you're saying.
That's not too big.
The thing,
that's recoverable, like pretty easily.
right? Well, when I started doing supplements, I had gotten myself down to 200 pounds, and then I started supplements, and within months, I was down to 155.
But what were you doing during the time
Mainly
you were
just taking iodine and drinking this concoction of vitamin and mineral fusion.
See, I'm not going to question you. I mean, I'm sure you're probably doing good. I'm congratulating you on your success, man. I'm a guy that doesn't need to lose weight, but maybe there may be people in the chat that may want to know more about it.
Right. Well, I don't see this like, for just, people that may be big. I say this for even people that are normal size. I mean, you still may be deficient in something. My recommendation would be go to your doctor and say, how do I figure out if I'm deficient in any vitamins or minerals? And they can run a test and find out. Do it. Find out what you're deficient in. There's some people out there that can't get normal B12, and they have to go and get shots because they can't absorb it into their body. That's a special case, but still, it happens. I've known several people like that. But you got to find out what you are deficient in. And hello, Veritas. Good to see you too.
And this will improve your life. And this is not Vex isn't making money off you. He's just telling you these things are going to improve your life if you want to take the effort and do it.
Well, I've said it on my streams before. I treated it as a science experiment when I started supplements because, quite frankly, I'm a skeptical person by nature. And essentially, like I said, I treated it like a science experiment. I didn't change anything about what I was doing as far as eating or exercise or anything. Exactly the same for the whole entire time. The iodine was the first thing I tried because I heard one of the side effects of it was fat loss, not weight loss, fat loss. It does not hamper your muscles at all. Usually when people lose weight, they lose muscle, and it damages your muscles when you do it that way. That's why I say something like iodine, the side effect of it, just the side effect, is it burns up fat and raises your metabolism. I mean, that's huge. So I was like, oh, that's too good to be true. So I got some, and it's relatively cheap. You can find good sources of it. Where I found mine was the InfoWars store. They got good stuff. But I started taking it. And for the first week, I took 1 drop a day. 1 drop of iodine a day. And then the second week, I took 2 drops a day. And then the third week, I took 3 drops a day, which is the recommended daily dose. And I noticed that during the first week, when I was only taking 1, I was losing, I would guess about 5 pounds a week, if not more. by the time I got up to 3 drops, I was almost down to, I think it was 165.
Whoa!
And
I gotta ask you, man.
Mhm.
So, was it only just the drops, or did you do anything differently physically or anything like that, or were you working out, or were you just only doing drops?
I
I
was
gotta
just
ask.
doing the drops by themselves, nothing else. Like I said, you have
Whoa!
to treat it like a
Whoa!
science experiment. I
Yeah,
didn't know what
that's
it was
fucking
going to do
wild,
about it.
dude.
And during that
So, what do
time,
you?
yeah, and
Okay.
during that, I could think clear also, which made a huge impact on me. Now, you can go through a detox with it, but that's like anything else. I mean, if you're deficient in it, it's going to flush out all the bad stuff that has been occupying it. Hey, coaches. Uh, and yeah, it's going to have to come out. So, be prepared for that. But me personally, I didn't have any type of effects like that to where I was like, crapping out bricks or anything. But I treated it like an experiment, and it proved positive, and I have not been off it since.
So, I mean, that would
No.
that would not be from. That's not something that I would do because I don't need. I wouldn't. I'd be dead if I lost that kind of weight. But what would you say to people that were maybe your size when you started the experiment? Would you give them any advice? Are there? What would you do? What did you do to stay healthy while you did that? Because I do not need that kind of weight loss, but I just would like to see your point and see what you say.
Well, the main thing about it is keeping active. For the most part, the jobs I worked kept me active. So it was one of those things where, I'm always on my feet and I'm always walking and always doing stuff. I would recommend that with everyone, no matter what. If you have a job where you sit at a desk, get your ass up and walk around that place, on your break or whatever. Keep yourself moving because sedimentary allows shit to settle. And it stays unless you essentially flush it out. So activity is the biggest thing. Now, during the experiment, I didn't change anything about what I was doing. I didn't change the amount of working out I was doing. I didn't change the amount of work I was doing. I didn't change the amount of food I was eating. I was still eating the same stuff in the same order, the same way, because I had to have a baseline for it so that I knew the difference in what was happening with my body. Paying attention to yourself is something that a lot of people don't realize they can do. If you're healthy with how you look, you can change it. And I'm not talking about going to the gym and fad diets, because that's what they are. They're just fads. And usually when you go into a fad diet, it's basically giving you one thing and depriving you of other. And that's not good for your body. Usually you're just shocking your system. Because, quite frankly, I went through a bunch of those damn things, and none of those fuckers worked. None of them. I don't care if you're even talking about the keto diet or whatever. It don't work. It may do something, but it won't work because you will fall back into your same...
The keto diet doesn't work. But you have to stay active the entire time, which is almost like what you're saying too with the, that's the key, is that you always have to be active no matter what diet you're on. Gotta be active.
Absolutely. That's the key to everything. Think about how ancient man used to be, back in the cave with a spear and a bear hide for clothing and stuff like that. Those guys did not sit around. As a matter of fact, the way they ate was not even close to the way we are eating. The way we eat now is manufactured by, well, quite frankly, the corporate government. And the food pyramid is a joke. Because they know that the stuff on it...
We'd be some lean boys out here if you and I had to go and survive on our own. somehow out in the wilderness. Give us a
Absolutely.
couple of weeks, we'd be some lean boys out here.
Well, yeah, the ancient man didn't carry around shanks of meat with him to nibble on while he was hunting for days on end. He carried berries, nuts, and fruit and stuff like that. And he didn't stop for meals because throughout the whole time they were out hunting, they were on their feet. They only stopped at night to sleep and build a fire to get warm, and then they get up and go at it again. And all through daylight hours, they were moving, running, jogging. They were constantly moving. So, I mean, they ate little amounts of food as they ran. That's why in the old days they told you, well, if you want to, if you want better digestion, you stand up when you eat. Well, there's truth to that. It's even better if you walk around while you eat.
Dude, hey, do you think Miss Latin Patriot is still in the house? Like, she should probably come up, hang out with us if she's still in here. She's fun to talk to.
Yep. Links out there in chat, people. It's easy to follow directions. Come right up on StreamYard.
Miss Latin Patriot, come hang out.
But all this goes back into mental happiness also, because they didn't have time to be negative about what they were doing, because quite frankly, if they didn't hunt down, they wouldn't have food throughout the winter. So there was no negativity in their mind going out there outside of, damn, missed that one. Otherwise, they just kept on plugging. They didn't stop because their family depended on it. And they couldn't stop for meals because they had to follow the herds and all that stuff. So they carried stuff in a little pouch and dug out a little, their stomach started growling. They'd ate something, their stomach would stop growling, and they keep going and keep going and keep going. Now you can compare that what we have to do
meats.
today. Yeah.
Smoked meats with a lot of salt, which you've got the iodine drops. I can see the correlation there a little bit. These guys were surviving on smoked meats all the time. A lot of salt in there. Berries.
Latin Patriot, welcome.
Hello.
What's up, Latin Patriot?
How's it going?
Not too good.
No.
Uh-oh.
Why?
Because I have a friend that's in a group, like a group chat thing, and her and another person kind of I guess started annoying each other, and she left the group, and now she won't answer my phone calls or anything.
You're talking about me, Latin Patriot.
I'm not talking about you. It ain't all about you.
Yeah.
Survival.
Yeah, this time it is.
Anyways.
You're talking about Celine?
I was looking up iodine right now, and you were saying that sometimes.
Oh, you broke up.
Right.
You broke up. Say that again.
You're saying that when we are lacking iodine, sometimes it can affect our mood, we get grouchy, And so the best source of iodine, natural source, is kelp and seaweed. And I had been buying those little snacks of the seaweed, but I realized those are processed. They're
exactly.
they've been put into a blender or something, and then put back together again like fruit roll up. So yeah. I'm wondering if they've probably extracted the iodine to put it in liquid form to sell it to us as a byproduct. And then so we're not getting the iodine we want.
Yes. Now, in the research that I've done over the years, I found out that if it says if it's processed food, that means something has been done to take something away from it. You'd have to process a lot of food that grows. You just don't really do unless you add stuff to it, additives, and you preserve it, preservatives. And most of the time, whenever they have to put it in cans, we'll just say they have to cook it first. And when you cook the food during the cooking process, you can get rid of all the good nutrition in it and you're left with essentially whatever you made, but it's basically has the nutritional equivalent of cardboard. Like, for instance, everybody loves ramen noodles. That ramen noodles has no nutritional value whatsoever. All it does is clog up your system.
Also, another cause of people not being able to absorb nutrition is because our intestines become damaged sometimes, and so like there is like actual like death in our intestines where there'll be like scarring or
Necrotic tissue.
like what was that?
Necrotic tissue.
No,
Yeah.
no, like scarring. There's like scarring, like damage, like permanent damage, where like there's like these little villi in our intestine that help like absorb the nutrition, right? I think.
Yes.
And then so some of those die off, and then
Yes.
they're not. So then there's like patches of dead.
Yeah, Vex said
tissue.
what they were.
Scar.
Yeah, he said it was necrotic tissue.
But it's not rotting though, right? It's just
No,
scarred.
not
That's what
rotting.
it is.
Necrotic is dead. Yeah.
Okay, so what is it called?
Dead. Yeah.
Okay,
necrotic.
so is that the same thing as being scarred?
Yeah, scar tissue is dead tissue that has hardened but still has basically it's let's just get scab, but it's made of your skin or your body.
Not a
that is
scab
scarred.
though, but an actual scar.
Right.
A leak.
I don't think internal scars are necrotic. If they are, I know necrosis is that when you get, that's more or less cancer, right? In the large intestine. Necrosis.
Well, I might be using the word incorrectly. I'll just say that
they can
right
cut
off the
it
bat.
out,
I'm
though.
not very schooled.
They can cut it out.
Here, let's see. Necrotic. The definition. Affected with, characterized by, or producing death of usually a localized area of living tissue, marked by necrosis. Necrotic. Lesions of the carina may lead to permanent blindness or impaired vision. Okay. Localized area of the skin that become necrotic as a result of vascular calcification. Sections of an ulcer shows a superficial layer of fibrin or necrotic debris, which forms the SLOUGH. I don't get that one, but yeah, it scars are more or less like that, but not quite.
Quick on the hunt, man. You got it. Did that answer your question, Latin Patriot?
Yeah, does that help? I was just using it from my understanding.
That's so. And you buy your iodine from Alex Jones, right?
Yeah. He's
does it
got
say,
the purest form out there.
Does it say where where it's sourced from, or where it's produced?
A lot of the stuff he gets is dug up from oil wells. Basically, it's deeper crystals that are, quite frankly, if you used iodine straight out the ground, then it could burn a hole straight through you. So it has to be. I don't know what they used to treat it or make it so it was ingestible, but in small amounts, it's definitely usable. You just have to. I gotta find that. I have it written down somewhere. One thing I know is this stuff, if in its purest form, will be bad for you. But
you have to stay active if you're going to use it,
because iodine is a mineral.
If you're not active,
yes.
then it doesn't work. Okay, if you stay sitting down, it doesn't work. You got to be running around.
Now, one of the things I love doing as part of my job is, like I said, I'm up moving around all the time. I like using my job as a low grade workout, so that by the time I get home or after I get home or before I go out to my job, I do a little small workout, and then it's complete by the time I'm done, for the day. And then I do my stretches and meditate and go to sleep, and I sleep great.
Dude, that's awesome, man. Do you have any of those like watches that like? I know my wife has one of these. She's got a watch that like follows her steps, and my phone used to do that. I used to have my phone in my pocket and it would count my steps. Do you have any of those? Like, are you on that kind of regimen?
No, I never actually used any of that. I just before I started doing supplements, my workout routine was rigorous, and it didn't do anything to get rid of my gut and all the fat. And that's what really irritated me.
Really?
But once I got into it, Rebel Jack said iodine is an element. It's on
Yeah, we know
periodic-
that. It's on the periodic table. We know
Yeah.
that much. Rebel Jack,
Yeah.
we know that. We're not dumb over. We're not idiots over here, man.
Yeah,
Rebel
but it's
Jack.
good info.
Yeah, it is. It really is. I'm kidding around. I'm glad you had me on, man. I'm just being
Yeah.
chill, dude.
Yeah, good deal. But our health is the only thing we got. Now, one of the things I wanted to touch on earlier, but I kind of went past it, was pregnancy. Women in pregnancy, I guarantee, don't get enough iodine. If you have iodine during your pregnancy, for all you that may want to get pregnant in the future,
Oh, you mean
get
most
yourself some
women?
freaking iodine. Yes.
Most women don't get enough iodine, but probably Asian women probably get enough if they're eating enough kale. I mean, sorry, not kale, the kelp. Like
Kelp.
maybe Japanese women, they use it for the sushi. I don't know if they eat that when
Right.
they're pregnant, but they still use it for soups.
Yeah, absolutely. I've read stories where pregnant women have taken iodine during their pregnancy, and before and during and after, and kids are freaking super smart. I mean, like I said, and that's just part of it. This is not something that.
Sorry, iodine
Go
is
ahead.
also found in breast milk.
See, there you go. That just adds to it. I mean, these are vitamins and minerals that we should all have on an everyday basis, but most of us don't get them at all. And nobody in the media, nobody in the health media is going to tell you any different, because quite frankly, they're all on the big pharma payroll. And the more you are deficient, the more patients they gain. If you don't give yourself, indeed, if you don't give yourself the proper nutrition, quite frankly, if you don't give your individual cells what they need to do their job, they mutate and become other things, like cancer. A good diet will keep all that at bay and even get rid of it.
Hey Vex, I have a question. I've heard, I just don't remember the reason why, that food today, like tomatoes and lettuce, fresh vegetables and fruit, are not as healthy as they were 50 years ago. And I don't know if it's because of the earth or if it's because they're picking it before it's ripened.
No, they're still good.
Well, actually, there's some information behind that, some facts behind
Depends
that.
on where you get it.
If you're going out and using the same seeds that are produced from seeds that were, basically generational seeds, like for instance,
heirloom seed. They're called heirloom.
Exactly. For instance, my grandma did nothing but use heirloom seeds whenever she had her garden. And if you keep on reusing those seeds, then yes, you will get nutrition out of them. It will be less, however, in today's standards, because the ground that ever planting is being the way it should. So it's actually a combination of several different things in that regard. They do not want, I say they in the air quotes, fill in the blanks for yourself. They don't want you to use any seeds but what they give you. I mean, we've all seen that in the news.
Yeah, are we allowed to say the M word? Who's at fault for that?
Go for it.
Monsanto.
Oh, that's just one of them, but yes, damn right. Now, they want permanent customers on big pharma, basically drug dealing playground. They want all of us there. That way we're totally dependent on they. And this is just one way that they are doing it. Like I said, they're poisoning our air. They're poisoning our food. They're poisoning our water. And it's all in small amounts.
And they're blaming us, the people, for doing it.
Absolutely. I mean, everybody knows about the climate change bullshit. Of course the climate changes. We go through cycles. I mean, duh. And a lot of our weather phenomena and stuff like that are coming from stuff that's being projected from the sun.
The cycles are proven with archaeology.
Absolutely. Abso-freaking-lutely. I mean, this is stuff that has been proven and has been known. Then all of a sudden, that science is no good, and we got this totally made-up bullshit that Gore and everybody else has been pushing forth. It's ridiculous and retarded. We're dealing with the age of, quite frankly, the age of stupid. We are in the middle of it.
Sorry. I was lucky enough to be in an archaeology class, and the instructor probably was a lefty. Who knows? Seemed like it. But he showed us his dig site, which was deeper than like 5'3", because that's how tall I am. So it was down lower than what my height is, and we were able to see the layers, the layers in the dirt change, and they're able to test the dirt. And they can see that in the valley in California, in the Central Valley where the farmland is, that there have been many phases of like drought. So it's like a desert sometimes, and then there are times when it's very fertile and they get a lot of rain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, like I said, they're not allowing the farmers to take care of the grounds anymore. They're paying them actually not to take care of them, and that's been the whole thing. I mean, money's the root of all evil. This is a prime example. I mean, a lot of farmers will fight to the death and say, you leave, get your grubby paws out of my farm. This is my farm. I'll do it the right way. They don't want that. And chances are those farmers that will fight to the tooth and nail to protect their farms are going to be either edged out or killed off because they don't want
PI. Was it Magnum PI? I don't remember his real name. Tom Selleck.
Tom Selleck.
He got in trouble for stealing water supposedly to keep his avocado farm alive. That's a big what's it called? Product to lose money on because avocados are already expensive.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, any way they can throw a monkey wrench into it, they have been doing. And the only way, get back is start going back to common sense. Common sense tells you that if you have the proper nutrition, you grow up healthy. We didn't have all these cancers when I was young. Not at all. I mean, when we heard about a cancer patient, it was one of those things in the news where it was like, holy crap. And they flew this person over from Europe, to get treated for this special cancer that all of a sudden popped up. It's all...
big. In Mexico, they say when you go there, don't drink the water. Why? Because you'll probably get really sick, bug, and you'll be stuck on the toilet, if not in the hospital from it. Yes. So why would I want to buy strawberries grown in Mexico? What water did they use to grow those strawberries? I don't want food from other countries like that.
No. It's totally different when you're talking about produce, though. Latin Patriot.
I don't know, Vex. What do you think?
Yeah, no,
Well-
it does. It is. It's different. When you're growing produce, the plants naturally filter out any kind of toxin that may be in the water to produce the fruit. It's not unless
Well-
you're using some sort of intense pesticide on the outside of the fruit. The fruit that grows out of the ground, even if you're growing out of a really bad water, it's still going to be good to eat. Fact.
Yeah, the water that they drink is essentially not treated well. So yes, in general, if you go and drink the water, you're not going to have anything good come of it. As far as the plants go and stuff like that, they use pretty much the same water, but like he said, there's natural ways of it being filtered. Now you're going to get trace amounts, but it's not going to be as heavy as like getting a glass of water. Yeah, Montezuma's Revenge.
That is hilarious. Won't Tetsuma.
But yeah, it all stems to keeping yourself healthy, mentally, physically, spiritually.
But let's
If-
not pretend like Montezuma was so damn innocent.
Yeah.
Well, hey, you guys, it's been really fun hanging out with you guys. Unfortunately, I got to go take these garbage cans down to the road, which is like a quarter of a mile for me. But,
Yeah.
Latin Patriot, love you, and Vex, love you, man.
Be careful.
I'll be
cold
around
out
next.
there.
It's not that cold.
Oh,
But hey, guys, maybe I'll check back in the chat when
Right
I get
on.
back up. But thanks for having me on, man.
Hey, not a problem. Thanks for coming up and hanging with me, man.
Right on, dude. See you guys later.
All right. Yeah, it all stems back to personal health. And like I said, mentally, physically, spiritually. If you can get a handle on that, then there's nothing that can stop you. I mean, I've never felt this powerful in my entire life. And it's because I've cleaned up my body, my spirit, and my mind. Now, granted, I'm no brainiac or anything like that. I just read a lot of stuff and look up things. Like I've said many, many times, I'm just a high school dropout who, slept through the classes he was there for. So, there's a
Are
lot
you
of
good
stuff.
at spelling?
No. If it wasn't for autocorrect, you guys would think I was retarded typing. But no, it's the contrast on who I was versus what I am now is so stark and so blatant to me that it surprises me, and yet it doesn't surprise me on how much that type of thing has been affected into the population themselves. I've told the story before where growing up, I thought I was one of the dumb kids because I thought differently from everyone else. But I found out later I wasn't one of the dumb ones. They were all just superficial idiots. Quite frankly. I mean, this was, I'm talking like, 80s, around the 80s and stuff like that, when, everybody was all about starting to make that money, that was when the trend actually started kicking. I mean, of course, everybody wanted to make money beforehand, but that's when it became popular. MTV and all that stuff. Everybody wanted to be a rock star and live the good life and be rich, that type of thing. So, yeah, I've seen the contrast in it, and I wouldn't be saying this if I didn't think it was true, because I use myself as the example. If you get yourself right, the rest of the world is so much easier to navigate. I mean, just that simple. I mean, sure, you might be a little overweight and stuff like that, but you can still be healthy and overweight. You can still be healthy and have a gut. Be active. That's one way. Find out what you're deficient in and take it religiously.
How do they do that again?
What do you mean?
I think most people usually go to their doctor and have like stuff, like their blood levels measured or something, right?
Yeah, I honestly, by the time I figured out about supplements and stuff like that, I was already telling my doctor to go to hell because I was doing a better job at being my doctor than he was. As a matter of fact, the last few visits I had with him, I was teaching him about this. So yeah, they can run tests. I don't know what the test is called or anything like that, but yes, they can run a test and find out what you are deficient in as far as your vitamins and minerals.
And
Do it.
there was a test, I mean, a question in your chat. It was kind of funny.
Which one?
Can you get Montezuma's Revenge one?
Yeah, okay. Can you get Montezuma's Revenge from drinking an entire bottle of tequila by yourself? Well, how much of that tequila was made with Mexican water? Then we can do the math. Right, yeah, it's really just that simple. I mean, people may think it's difficult. I mean, especially with most of people growing up with fast food. Fast food is one of the best killers of your intestinal tract that is around right now. I mean, that's not food. And what it was food. But like I said earlier about the processed food, all that stuff in McDonald's, all that stuff in Taco Bell, all that stuff in Chili's, all that stuff is cooked out, wasted stuff. I won't even call it food because it just looks like it. There is no nutrients left.
I think I saw a show talking about like the fast food, but they claim that the reason why we crave fast food sometimes is because of the salt, the sugar, and the fat, I think. But my mom used to cook with lard, like making tortillas and making her refried beans. And I've never have ever craved her food irrationally like I've craved fast food irrationally. Like, I don't even like most fast food. I don't like to eat out at fast food, but I have gotten strange cravings for it. Like today, I was eating dinner. Oh. And I started thinking, oh, I should go to Carl's Jr. later or McDonald's later, to get some French fries or something. Like, I don't know. It was really irrational. I was like, oh my God, this is insane.
And that's what most of the population is dealing with. Now, one thing that I don't know if this is actually true. This is just something that I've kind of observed. So bear with me at least on that. One thing that I've noticed is that most people, when they get cravings, it's your body trying to tell you. Yeah, here, I'll put it real simple. It's your body trying to tell you that you are deficient in something. Your cravings are things that you need, but it's trying to supplement itself. So say like what's a good example? Oh, I crave ice cream. Chances are I might need some calcium. You see what I mean? I mean, McDonald's a quarter pounder with cheese would sound awesome right now. Well, maybe I'm a little low on protein. You know what I mean?
Well, I definitely think that they're putting like altered like genetically, or what do you call it? Like chemically altered ingredients like MSG or that other stuff that the person in the chat is putting in the chat.
Yeah.
That, because like the cravings for that fast food was not normal. I've never craved normal home cooked from scratch food like that. So it was like at one time when I was, a couple of times when I was going to the going to school, studying, going to college, I would be like, oh, I don't have any money on me. Oh, I'll use my credit card for some garbage fast food that I don't even like. Doesn't even taste good.
It's very difficult and rare to find something that's actually good for you in any type of fast food type environment. Even sit down diners or like places like Chili's or whatever. So yeah, your body is trying to communicate with you that it needs something. and I don't know, the
So, like,
last
we need
time.
some more crack. Go to McDonald's.
Yep. Well, think about it. They do have a chemical now that they can put in stuff that makes you crave it. They have the ability now to put a chemical in things that makes it taste good even if it doesn't.
And our government is not required to tell us about these things because isn't there like some laws that they're allowed to like put like, so like if we're eating tomato sauce, they're allowed to have like a certain percentage of like flies and maybe a rat or two fall in it, supposedly.
Yeah, they call it acceptable levels of contamination. Their words. Yeah, acceptable levels of contamination. This is what your Food and Drug Administration and shit like that think of you. There are acceptable levels of contamination. You know why? Because they're contaminating it already. And all the other stuff's just added bonus, the fly wings and, droppings from insects and stuff like that on the packages and sometimes in the packaging. They don't care.
Maybe a coworker or two.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, any type of government that allows an acceptable amount of contamination cannot be trusted. Because they will do everything they can. As long as they make their money out of it, those short-sighted bastards will kill every damn one of us. Hell, some of them, if they could get away with just outright poisoning us to death, they would. But they realized, we would realize what was going on and essentially get pissed off and, well, let your imagination flow with that. This is not something new. It's not. Did you want to say something?
What is Monday night for? Yeah. What is Monday night for? I forgot. What's the topic usually on Mondays?
Monday Night Madness. Anything goes. My title is The Compass Spins. So.
Okay. Do you know anything about Nephilim and the difference between Nephilim and like Anunnakis or something?
Generally, I can't say I'm any type of expert on it. I could just tell you what information I've come across and what seems to be more logical, I guess. Nephilim are supposed to be a combination of angels and man. I would have to more or less meet an angel or something first before I could give any credence to it. But what was the other one you said?
Anunnaki.
Okay, Anunnaki, from what I can tell, are otherworldly. Well, I'll start it a different way. Beings from other planets that have come here to manipulate us. So, in a sense, they could be the same thing, just under different names, or it could be two things completely different. But knowing what I know about the research I've done and what makes sense and what doesn't make sense, it seems to me that it's most likely an alien race that came down and basically to lord over us, take our materials from the planet, stuff like that, use us for slave labor, and basically take all the stuff that they want from our planet back where they came from. Now, that could be true, or it could be a load of hot horse shit. I don't know. I've never met either one of them, so I can't give you anything more than just what I think might be common sense in that regard.
Well, I saw this movie. I forget what it's called. Maybe, it's like, I think it's called The Village. They live like they're in the like 1800s or something, and the kids in the village aren't allowed to like leave the village, and then they have like some scary monster to like scare the kids into staying in the village. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, generally, yes.
Okay. Well, that fear was used to control people. And I don't know when it was, we were talking about kings and queens, but I wonder if they did the same thing with the kings and queens. I forget. Somebody said that that the kings and queens were really like anointed by God or whatever. But sometimes I wonder if some scammer, like a what do you call them when they scam people all the time, like a sociopath? They're like career
Grifters.
criminals. They're career
Grifters.
criminals. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, they're grifters. They're able to make up a story and convince everybody that something happened. So then they get the crown because they fooled everybody into believing that, God came and bestowed upon them the right to become king and queen. But it could have been in cahoots with other people like the Catholic Church and said, oh yes, I saw the angel come down and bestow upon him too, or something. Because how did the Catholic Church get more power than the king?
Well, that's actually a good point, and it's something that I was talking with you about, I think, in Discord with other people. Either that or it was a live stream. I don't remember actually. But yeah, as far as that goes, think about it like this. In the beginning, before there were actually kings, there were warlords. Everybody had their separate territory and stuff like that, and they were always fighting back and forth. Think about it as tribal. There were warlords, and essentially the warlord that went through most battles usually won. Well, I can't actually say that, but the ones that won the overall battle, the hero of that battle, would essentially, the people would see it as divine right, because mostly whenever they go to war with each other, it would be, for our God, we must smite those other people who believe in a different God than us, that type of attitude. So as far as kings and queens go, it's more or less like interpreting. He is the strongest, so he must be the king, anointed by God, because we were fighting this battle in God's name type of thing. And that's how kingship started. And the church came afterwards because most of the people believed in at least a form of Christianity. So they used the church to enslave the people. And that's how the church becomes this monolithic type thing. Now, from then on, it was less about the battle and more about a bloodline. Well, we all know that bloodlines are flawed in its, conception. You can't have a good leader just because it's his son, that type of thing. So to reinforce the godliness of the king and all the tyrannical stuff that he proclaims, he had the church back him up. And all the peasants believed in the church because they were told they have to. Maybe not necessarily in that way, but they already had a basic understanding of believing in God, so they used that to manipulate them. And I believe that is the basis of our church system as a whole. My belief is that your relationship between God and you is just that, a relationship between you and God. There's no building, there's no guy in a funny hat in between. When I talk to God, it's direct. You see what I'm saying? They want to put an intermediary in between, and so that they can interpret it and tell you how to think about God. So in that regard, I believe the church is flawed at its beginning. Now, that's not me taking a knock at God, because I believe in God, but I don't believe in the church, because the church is made up of man, and man is flawed. So says God. So
I looked into how close is too close of a relative to date within the royalty, and I think it said that royal families used to marry like their cousins, or like their cousin's cousin, to keep the like to keep their like how do you call it, something close, like their clan close,
Yeah.
to keep their family ties close, to not
Yep.
let it go into like strangers' hands.
Yeah, and one thing they realized about that is you can't just have your family around you at all times, because that promotes inbreeding. They learned that a long time ago. So a lot of the warrioring factions would actually abduct other members, kind of like the Native Americans. They would bring people in to invigorate their lines, add new DNA, so to speak. Not in those words, of course, but they knew that interbreeding was a bad thing and produced not good results.
Yeah, because then eventually over time they all start looking too closely alike, like, oh wait, is that my mom or my sister? um
Well, a lot of
so
the royal lines you can tell, even if you look at over in England right now. Those people aren't the epitome of DNA. I mean, you notice up until, 20 years ago, they didn't allow anyone into their lineage. Yeah, exactly, royal lineage. It's mainly inbreeding because they were marrying their cousins and their sisters and stuff like that. All that stems from the crown and England and stuff like that, the old days, way back.
and a lot of those guys didn't even seem like alpha males. Like, they seemed really wimpy after a couple hundred years, you know.
Yeah, think about it. And that's what's playing out in our society now. Now, we know that for the most part, our society isn't doing a whole lot of interbreeding, at least I hope not. But we've seen that over time, men are turning more effeminate, and women are, quite frankly, losing their damn minds. I mean, this is all stuff that happens from fucking with our DNA.
Well, you know, I saw a commercial that a YouTuber put together of the three. I'm gonna mute myself because there's a car coming by.
Beep, beep.
There was a Russian, I think it's the Chinese, and then the American, like military commercials, and the North Korean leader, I forget what his name is, was sitting there
Kim Jong.
watching the soldiers break bricks on each other and like choking each other as hard as they could and like resisting being choked, and he's sitting there all plump and juicy like a turkey, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Just amazed at how strong these men are. And I was thinking, well, why is your butt so ready for Thanksgiving, you know, and why are these soldiers so strong and ready to like kick some tail? But why didn't they train you? Why do you look like a turkey?
Yeah, there you go. I mean, I'm trying to remember something someone told me not long ago. Something along the lines of, what do you want as your protectors? Do you want a bunch of freaking paper pushers from a desk job, or do you want people who have testosterone and ready to kick some ass? Well, I want the people has some testosterone and wants to kick some ass to protect us. I mean, and essentially that's what it is. They're trying to keep all of us from standing up for ourselves.
Oh, isn't it interesting how they used to like let the firstborn become the king?
Yeah.
Like the firstborn male, and
yes.
If the male was the first born, usually he's like the tallest and the smartest.
Hopefully.
Like statistically speaking, I think is what they say.
It very well may be. And the Salt Lakers, even if it's not consensual, yeah, even. But yeah, it can also be stemmed back to proper nutrition. Even back during Dark Ages, they knew about nutrition. That's why all the kings and queens had plenty of food, apples and bananas and pear, whatever. They had their meat, they had their vegetables and fruits, but the peasants didn't, because you keep them subjugated. And it's all about control. It has been for the longest time. You could almost say since the beginning of, humanity itself. A lot of these things can be figured out real easy. I mean, all you have to do is give one family a certain diet, give another family a different diet, and see what happens. That's science. Observations. I'm reading chat. Proverbs 21:19, King James Version. It's better to dwell in the wilderness than with a contentious and angry woman. Yeah. Well, I just leave that.
Because then you have to think about like Hansel and Gretel, the book that I had for my kids. The book was like, it was like a stepmother, and she was a big fat lady, and she wanted all the food for herself, so they were poor. And so she told her husband to get rid of the kids so she could have all the food. That was so terrible. I was like, I'm supposed to read this to my kids? Oh my gosh, I should have read it before I bought it.
Well, think about how the woman was portrayed. She was portrayed as the evil one, and the husband was basically a cuck in today's standards, I guess. And the kids were an afterthought. Well, I also have to add in that there's points in history where kids were thought of as a free workforce. So you had as many children as possible so you could keep your farm up and running, that type of thing. So sometimes, people, how they view their kids has changed back and forth over the years. So, now we're just having to be into a point where people in general don't care about their damn kids. And it's not because they're actively not caring. It's just because that's the way they were brought up. So they pass it along to their kids. Which, takes us back into good vibes and portraying those good vibes to everyone around us. I mean, we have to reteach people all this stuff. And it's going to be a big problem. But we can do it. Because they'll see the difference between how you're treating them. Oh, you're not treating me like how I grew up. This is different. Okay, I might be willing to listen. Something along those lines. All right. I'm throwing the link out there again. Get your butts up here. Let's talk about some shit. But this has been a problem throughout our history. And like I said, they know that the key to everything is nutrition. Your body can't work right if it's not given the proper tools to work right. What happens is it goes wrong, mutates, because it has nothing else it can do. And if you give your cells the proper nutrition it needs to do its job correctly, you are healthy. And you stay healthy. I mean, one of the things about telomeres are basically your DNA strands, and essentially when your telomeres run out, you die. We know there's stuff out there right now, and has been for years, that will keep your telomeres from shortening. Like I said, when they shorten all the way, you die. That's the end of your life.
What are the telomeres? I must have missed it.
Telomeres are essentially, you can think of that about them in your DNA as like a strand of hair, part of your DNA that as you age, it shortens. So when the telomeres run out, that's the end of your life. So we can last as long as our telomeres are kept healthy and kept from PQQ and CoQ10. That definitely helps. It keeps your telomeres from shortening as you age. And we've known this for a long time. But does the general public know anything about telomeres? Nope. And you won't know unless somebody tells you about it, like me or someone like me. Because that's a tool in your belt that they don't want you using. Because the more healthy you are, the longer you live. They don't want it. they want you all sickly and deathly dependent on them. And there's that word again.
They want to make as much money off of you before of us before we die.
Well, money's just another tool. If you think about it in that way. Yeah. Well, as I said, telomeres are basically DNA repairing. Your telomeres never get any longer, no matter what you do. The only thing they can do is get smaller. And it's an automatic thing. It's like a timer on our lives. Literally. You can't survive without telomeres. It just happens. So that's why I say our life extension technology is so far beyond what everybody thinks it is right now that it would blow everybody's freaking mind. I mean, people look at Star Trek and see all the gadgets they have, stuff like that. We can do most of that already. It's just that would basically empower the people, but they can't have that. They want you all slow, stupid, and fat. And what do you know? For the most part, it's working. And that's exactly the reason why I started doing, live streams and stuff like that, because people need to know this.
My mom is from a really small town in Michoacan, and it used to be very difficult to get there. The road used to be like through mountains and really close to the edge of the cliff, and no rails most of the time. And sometimes, there's car accidents because around the curves, people want to pass others, and then they end up crashing or something. And to get to like a hospital or something is like more than an hour away on the same type of scary, dangerous road, And the roads used to be just pebbles and rock with dirt. And I never saw fat people there. Not really. So in the United States, it's like everywhere.
Yeah, I've seen videos of roads like that, and quite frankly, I don't know how people do it. That would make me a nervous wreck. Is that why Joe Biden drinks adrenochrome? Yeah, among other reasons, basically.
I thought we're not allowed to say that word on YouTube.
Oh yeah, Brandon.
No, the A word.
Oh, adrenochrome? I'm sorry, that's scientific. And as anybody can read my disclaimer down at this is for educational and research, scholarship, teaching, all that good stuff. So YouTube, you can blow me. But yeah, that brings me to something else. They have taken the natural order of things and the way our bodies work and everything and bastardized it. I mean, we've all heard about them, like getting infusions of blood and stuff like that of children and all that horrible shit. It's a bastardization of the natural process. Yeah, let's go, Brandon. God, I love that so much. And moreover, because everybody can get behind it, and you're not, directly just being vulgar about, fuck Joe Biden. Let's go, Brandon. And everybody knows it as a meme. I love it. I forgot what I was saying. Damn. Oh, yeah, bathing in baby's blood and all that good, bad stuff. Good, bad stuff. Whatever. Excuse me. But they've even bastardized that. Where really, if those assholes wanted to live longer, all they would have to do is supplement their diets and not eat crap. And they would live a long, healthy life. But they can't even do that. They want to take the shortcuts. They want to take the evil way into it. They want to, well, if they could, they'd smash us all into a paste and bathe in it. Just because somebody would tell them that would, lengthen their lives. They're fucked up, warped people. And they have a scientific method that they use to do this shit.
The guys are funny in the chat.
Yeah, I'm reading them. And Brandon drinks his telomeres directly.
Yeah, they found the fountain of youth. Blood.
Yeah, the fountain of youth made by Satan.
They have found the fountain of youth and the fountain of nude. Epstein's Island.
Oh, that's how you found my channel? Weird.
No. Oh, somebody's telling you?
Yeah, I was reading chat. He said I was searching YouTube one night to post "Let's Go Brandon" on weird live YouTube channels. That's actually how I found this one. True story. Well, I'm glad you found it. That's for sure. Let's go, Brandon.
The Salt Lakers.
Yep, the Salt Lakers. The Countess of Blood. Here, I put that up. Like the Countess of Blood, she uses to take in young women, preferably virgins, kill them, and bathe in their blood. Yeah, I mean, that's part of the tale of Count Dracula, Vlad the Impaler. The kids were always told, you don't go to that castle because you would disappear. So, yeah. These people have been operating for a very long time. And quite frankly, all the sources of evil fairy tales and stuff like that stem back to these people. They're the reasons why we have those fairy tales. Because they're evil bastards killing us and using them for their own amusement. Or, in this case, health. They can't help it. They're warped and twisted, and they've been warped and twisted throughout their lineage. So, yeah, they just keep doing it, and they, through their warped sense of morality, and yes, they do have a warped sense of morality, they think they are superior. Well, it's very easy to delude yourself. It really is, and self-delusion is the cruelest form of punishment. For instance, me thinking I was not worth anything when I was younger, that was self-delusion. And it was me punishing myself. And I did it daily, at least. And it wasn't until later that I realized it. And I guarantee most people do it without even thinking of it. And going back to positivity, Look for the good within you, accentuate it, and make it flow. Show the world what your good points are. Doesn't matter what your bad points are. Those are irrelevant. Not saying ignore them. You got to deal with them. But produce the good vibes. Even that is a part of the healing. Your mental state can take care of your spirit. Your mental state can take care of your physical. And your mental state can obviously take care of your mental. So, look forward to the good things about yourself. Promote it, exude it.
Someone else want to come up and take my spot? I need to go. Come hang out with Vex. He's an awesome dude. Hasta la
Thank
vista,
you.
baby.
All right. You take care, and thank you for coming up. I appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
There's the link once again if you want to join me up here. If nobody joins me, I'll probably end the broadcast here in a little bit. But for the most part, this is all about personal health and well-being. They don't want you to have it. So therefore, I want you to have it. And it's not as difficult as what you think. When you start getting rid of, well, we'll just go with food. All the foods, like, I'll give you my self-account or account of how I did it. There for a long time, I ate nothing but fast food and drank soda. Now, I mean that literally. For at least 2 to 3 years straight, I did nothing but eat fast food and drink soda. And that made me, dim-witted, slow, and lazy. Now, I thought this was just how I am. I'm fat, so I'm going to be like this. I accepted it until I found out differently. And I told you about the iodine experiment and all that. Now, it wasn't until then when I started changing my whole outlook on stuff. My sarcasm bordered on, well, quite frankly, anger. So it was always a jab at somebody. I was always ready to snap. And I don't mean as going crazy and, hacking people up. I mean that as in snap at people. I was always, spiteful in that regard. Because I felt like I wasn't worth anything. So that's the way I acted. But after I started filling in the gaps of my vitamins and minerals and stuff like that in my body, my outlook changed. Everything cleared. And allowed me to see what was going on around me and the bigger picture in itself. Now, this is something that everybody can do. Hell, if I can do it, you can do it. And I want you to do it. I want you to be the best you can be. Because the more everybody is the best they can be, the better our life in general will be. It will extend out to, hell, all the way to political. They can't use this crap against an informed people. And this is one way for informed. Learn about yourself. Ask yourself questions and answer them. And be honest. You don't have to be honest with everyone, but be honest with yourself. That is the best present you could ever give yourself. And when I say this, I speak from experience, because I used to be a big liar, big manipulator, all that. And it wasn't until I quit trying to get one over on people all the damn time that I realized it was the horrible way to be. And it did nothing but negative for me. But once I cleaned up my system and allowed myself to answer the questions I asked myself, it wasn't going to work. I was going to die a fat slob with nothing to my name. I have no doubt. Because quite frankly, I wouldn't be able to outrun the zombies. All this is not for me. Personally, I'm good with who I am now. I feel great. I have a positive outlook on things. Even as crappy as the world is right now and all the shit coming against us, I have a positive outlook on it. Because I can see how being positive in itself will excel you. And you will overcome all of this other crap. You can get past it. You can see the difference. You can feel the difference. I mean, comprehending my spirituality is a bit of a struggle because, quite frankly, like I've said earlier, the church itself, I had no confidence in. Even back when I was being a little shithead kid, I had no confidence in the church because I went to churches and I saw what was going on. I could see it, all the superficial bullshit, and not to mention some of the stories in there. But that's a different story entirely. But I could see it, and these were supposed to be, the good people. I could see them talking behind other people's backs and spreading rumors and this, that, and the next thing. Now, how is that good? It's not. And I saw it every church I went into. So, yeah, I had a problem with, I almost said I had a problem with God. I never had a problem with God. I always spoke to God, especially when I was walking back and forth to school. I mean, that was when I had my downtime and could actually say what was on my mind. But I didn't need that church. I didn't need that preacher. I didn't need those people in there. They were all a distraction from the true relationship. That's why I come down so hard on the church. And some of that actually extends to the Bible. But that's, like I said, a different story. If it works for you, I was about to say I'm glad, but really I'm not. Because, I don't want to go too much into that. But if that's all you need, fine. But to me, it is not. Hello, Rebel. Welcome.
What's up?
Yeah, to me, it's not about anything in the physical realm. Your personal and spiritual growth is between you and your maker. There is nothing in between it. The only thing in between it is what you put in between it. And quite frankly, anything you put in between it is a distraction. So, Rebel Jack, what's up with you? How you doing? What you got on your mind?
Not much. I've been kind of on a hiatus for a while, just recentering my chi kind of thing, in kind of in my own way, self-centering my
Awesome.
overall being, trying to avoid news, because news is just crap on top of crap lately. I'll skip for a week and then watch, another, hour show. I'm like, I saw this stuff last week, so nothing's changed. So I guess I'm not missing much.
Right.
I'll catch the big things here once in a while. Like I kind of went into my recentering phase before the Let's Go Brandon stuff started. Yeah. And then I saw that and I was like, oh, okay. So I'm up to date on that kind of stuff. But overall, the fine details of everything, not so much. Trying to restart my garden
Nice.
Because the freaking monsoon came, and then the Hurricane Ida aftermath was kind of like a secondary monsoon, and that it was too cloudy, and it just killed off the plants from not enough light, and the over heavy raining was like damaging the plants. So I kind of just restarted, and I'm doing an experiment of planting stuff too late out of season. Like everything should have been harvest that I planted now, but I'm planting it for a second time now just to experiment and see what'll go. Some of the stuff will go for sure, like some beans. If I had peas, I would have preferred to do peas, but then I also planted okra and I planted some honeydew melons, which I doubt the honeydew melons will get to full capacity for fruiting, but we'll see. Maybe they'll fruit earlier too instead of vining out so long.
That reminds me of, essentially vibrational techniques with growing. Have you tried talking with your plants?
I used to, but not too much anymore. Mostly I just kind of hang out with them and I'll touch them. So
Yeah.
I'll like move them around when I see them kind of growing in the wrong place. And I'm like, no, you're growing wrong. You're going to hurt yourself that way or whatever, you know? A little bit of talking, but I don't go out there and be like, I love you, cucumber. You're so great, cucumber. I don't do that shit. And after I watched Mythbusters, if anything, it's the more bassy, full tone range music that helps the plants grow the best. Because on Mythbusters, they tried classical music, negative words, positive words, and metal music. Positive words did second best, and metal music did number one. So, yeah.
Real quick. Hey, Pastor Sam, good to see you.
Hi, Pastor Sam.
Welcome to come up and join us.
Always. Pastor Sam's always welcome.
Absolutely. Open all the time for Pastor Sam. Vibration. Is I've been, always talking about frequency and stuff like that. As a matter of fact, I have some frequencies playing right now.
Mm-hmm.
I know through my experimentation that it works and stuff like that. So absolutely, yeah. I had it wasn't my grandma, it was my grandma's sister. She would actually set a little boom box outside in her garden and play music. I don't remember offhand what it was. I wasn't really paying attention at the time, but I remember her doing it. And every time I'd go down and visit her and stuff like that, she would have that boom box out there, in her garden and playing music. And she always had produce ready to go. I mean, we always walked away with bags of stuff. And it was crazy. But, looking back in hindsight, I'm sitting there going, well, it makes perfect sense now. Because I know for a fact that I've used this frequency for healing myself. I know that I've told you in the past that I have damage in my right ear, and I've gotten some of that back. And it's worked. Well, not to mention I use Reiki also. I'm doing all I can to learn about healing. And I know it works. I know for a fact. And this is just something I feel... well, I appreciate you coming by, Pastor Sam. You're always welcome here, man. You're always welcome. And I do want to get with you about doing a show with you. It looks like I might have to do an earlier show so that I can accommodate your time frame. But I'll contact you on Gospel Gunslingers. Yeah, if you guys don't know Pastor Sam, I suggest you check out his channel. He's a man of God and he speaks good words. I'll go ahead and get his link and throw it out there. Give me just a moment.
While you're doing that, I'll talk. So what I was doing before the storms came is I was just hanging out outside a lot, and I would listen to whatever I was normally gonna watch or whatever outside with the speaker loud enough to where it wasn't really bothering the neighbors, but fairly loud enough to where the vibrations could span through the backyard.
Mm-hmm.
So that was, something. Plus, I'd be outside, and the dogs would run around and they'd bark. I don't know what the effect of barking would do, but might be okay, might be good, might be bad. Maybe the plants will feel protected because there's an animal around barking danger away. I don't really know. That's another test that has been done, maybe, but not to my knowledge. Could be done. I'm sure dogs would probably have more of a beneficial effect with their barking than cats going around hissing all the time. unless they're like purring and trilling up next to the plant, then I don't think they're gonna do too much help vibration wise.
Right. I mean, plants and animals have been together for a long time on this earth, so you'd have to, at least on the basics of it, think there's a symbiotic relationship in that regard.
Yeah. Like, I've been studying a lot of companion planting lately, and another companion would be the proper animals for that type of plant. Maybe they eat the plant, or maybe they don't eat the plant. Maybe they use the plant for nesting or such, like a bird. A bunch of bird calls is probably super beneficial for a lot of plants, or probably for trees too, because they're usually in a tree. Various birds chirping and all that could, help that go on that way.
Yeah. Real quick, since Pastor Sam's on his way to bed, I thought I'd throw this up and answer his question real quick. Let's Go Brandon basically comes from the news, actually. What was it, a NASCAR race or something?
Yeah.
Where they were interviewing the winner, Brandon something or other. And in the background, they were interviewing him, and in the background, the whole crowd was chanting "Fuck Joe Biden." And the TV person who was interviewing him said, "Oh, look at that! They're cheering, 'Let's go, Brandon.'" So it's became this big meme. So "Let's go, Brandon" stands for "Fuck Joe Biden." And I hope it keeps going and going and going, because I love that kind of mass effect. So I hope that answers your question, Pastor Sam.
And I believe it was, I might be wrong, but I think it was a CNN person too who actually started the "Let's Go Brandon" thing too. I might be wrong. I'm not too sure. Like I said,
Yeah.
I've been out of the news loop a little bit, but I think I heard it was CNN.
It,
We tried to
it
spin
very
it
well.
that way.
Yeah, it very well could have been, but I don't remember which myself. But yeah, it was that, definitely. And now every time I hear it, it just brings a big old broad smile to my face, because that means that, well, it's a good example of how many people are actually chanting all over the place in every state. Let's go, Brandon.
I saw a kid today. I don't know when the race was. Might have been yesterday, because they typically race on Sunday. So might have been from yesterday's race. And they had like 3 kids up there, and they did the "drivers start your engines," right? And then the one kid in the middle after that said, "Let's go, Brandon." And then the guy with the microphone like turned toward the camera and put the microphone like right next to his chest, and then just stared at the camera like, "I know what he said. I know what that means." And he had that "oh crap" look on his face.
Oh man, I just typed into YouTube's search. All I typed was LE, and it came up with a bunch of results. Let's go, Brandon.
Oh, that reminds me. I looked up. I was trying to look up how much a gallon of water weighs, and I typed up how much does, or how. I think I got to how much, and then it says how much does Lizzo weigh. No, I was rolling laughing.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, I'm trying to find that clip right now. Oh, evidently the racer's name was Brandon Brown, and it was at Talladega.
Talladega.
Talladega. Let's see, they said it's a NASCAR reporter. Here, we'll see what happens. See if this one's got it. The interviewer was from NBC Sports.
Close enough.
Yeah, close enough. Same difference. But yeah, okay, I got it. It's only like 33 seconds, but it shows it pretty well. Let's see. I got to do a screen share. All right, pull that down. Bear with me, people. I'm almost there. If I can get the right tab.
Since you said that, I'm just real quick. I thought your logo, your avatar, was an alien face for the longest time until like a few days ago. And I still can see the alien face, but now I know it's a bear face. Just saying.
Yeah, I was gonna try and adjust it, but quite frankly, the way that StreamYard does the icon thing, it wouldn't give me an option to show a bigger picture of it. Sucks, but what you gonna do? I just wanted to get them green eyes in there because they look cool. All right, we got this up here on StreamYard. All right. Whoop, wrong tab. There we go.
Oh my God, it's just such an unbelievable moment.
Brandon, you also told me, as you can hear the chants from the crowd, let's go, Brandon. Brandon, you told me you were going to kind of hang back those first two stages and just watch and learn. What did you learn that helped you there in those closing laps?
Oh my God, it was learning how each line didn't stay to one. Everything shifted top to bottom so much that it was kind of like, okay, let's just stay patient where we're at and hope for the best. And
oh, it just cracks me up. I love it. Let's go, Brandon.
Yep. At least it's not let's go Biden, you know?
Yeah. Well, see, that's one of the things I love about that is because it's something that's fun and so many people are doing it all over the place. It's almost like taking memes to real life, that type of thing. In this case, it's kind of true because the meme came after the fact of something that happened in real life, like most memes are. And it's something that everybody can carry around with them in their pocket. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Plus, there's already like a ton of shirts with it on there, too.
Oh, yeah.
And I heard a few songs that were Let's Go Brandon titled.
I get a chuckle out of it just because it shows everyone how many people are realizing, even the ones that were just on the fence, but they're realizing that this guy in supposed office is not right. And like I said a long time ago, everybody thinks that it's 40% of Americans are against Joe Biden or whatever, 50%. Yeah, that was the main thing. They were saying it was 50-50 divided. It's not 50-50 divided. It's never been 50-50 divided. And it will never be 50-50 divided. 80% of Americans know what the fuck's going on and know something is wrong. Now, whether they know how deeply it is, that's a different story. But 80% of Americans are good people. Bank on that. So, anywhere you go around, you might be surrounded by libtards. You might be. That's highly likely. But I guarantee you there are more of people that think like us than there are them. They have always been in the minority. I mean, Well, you can go into the, trans issues and stuff like that. That's a 0.01%, probably different from that, but it's something like that. People are trans, and yet we're changing the whole freaking country because of that 0.01%. It's the same thing with these leftists and libtards and all them. They are in the minority. They are the small group. It's just they're yelling the loudest. That's all there is to it. And of course, they've got the bought up media and politicians, in the corporate government. But they are in the minority. They are not we the people.
Facts.
Yeah.
I got a little story. I like to watch Survivor, the reality game show thing, just because I like the survival aspect of it. I don't really care for the whole drama-y aspect. I like the challenges, and I like to see how people survive in general, and it's always a little different. The final season from fall of 2020, which was probably filmed early 2020, maybe late 2019. They ended in the finale, and they had to do it all cyber, like we're doing here. And they skipped their spring season, and then they went to like a fall season. So they like skipped the whole season because they do 2 seasons a year. All right. This new season, they have the highest percentage of I hate the term, but minorities in there.
Mm-hmm.
And they also have like the highest amount of the LGBTQ in there. The craziest part, well, there's 2 crazy parts. One is Jeff Probst has always, for 40 seasons, at the beginning of a challenge said, "Come on in, guys," to welcome everybody coming in. And he asked the people, "How do you feel about the word guys?" At the very beginning, everybody was like, "I don't have anything to say about it." And then the next challenge came up like a couple days later for their time. And they said, "We're not really comfortable about it." And the main person who was angry about it was a gay man.
Uh-huh.
And this is the other big clincher here. All right. He's a gay man who is, I don't know if they're married, but he's with a trans man. And then he also stated that the trans man is pregnant. Now, if you break that down and go back to the roots, that is a straight man with a woman. So how is he gay other than liking a tomboy type girl? Really? Like, you just like tomboy girls. Like, there's nothing really gay in there other than the mindset that you're portraying with how you're selecting your partners. Because you're gay, you're with a trans man, which means they were a woman, and they're pregnant, which means they have woman genetics. It's like, if you want to focus on it, it's baffling. But from like a far away position, you're like, you guys are confused, and you don't even make sense because it's a man with a woman, and you're both pretending to be gay when neither of you are even practicing typical gay relationships. Doesn't make sense.
Yeah, that's part of the mental deficiencies that everybody's dealing with. Let's see, how do I change this back? That one or this one?
Oh yeah, it's only 2 hours long. Huh? Oh, that's
the wrong
new.
One. Yeah, playing with all the buttons.
Yeah, apparently.
There we go. But yeah, that's the mental deficiency that we're dealing with. People don't even know who the fuck they are. And that goes back to what I was saying earlier about if you know yourself, you won't deal with this stupidity. Because as long as you're honest with yourself, then it doesn't matter about anything else. Finding yourself and centering yourself, like what you were talking about, is about knowing yourself and having a relationship with your creator. That's all that matters. That's it.
Yep. Be one
I
with
mean-
yourself, be one with nature, and be one with your creator. And you will
Exactly.
that to me that's like the Trinity. Like be one with yourself, be one with nature, and be one with the highest power. Period.
Yeah, I mean, it with all the stuff that's being swirled around us like a big chaotic whirlwind, at the center of it is those three things. Plain simple. If you distill it down, that's what it is. You want to know what the meaning of life is? You just found it.
So you're distilling that moonshine soul.
Yeah. I mean, it's really that simple. And the more complicated it becomes, the more chaotic it becomes, and the more people are confused. But if you go back to the simple, just simple thinking, ask yourself simple questions and answer them simply, but honestly with yourself. I don't care if you lie to everybody else around you. Be honest with yourself. That is the best way to center yourself. I mean, I could not have, be as stable as I am if I didn't. I would be probably one of those people in prison right now if I hadn't done this. Or most likely I'd be dead. Just from altercations and me being angry all the time. It took me a long time to get rid of it, but once I found this simple formula, it's easy. And all you have to do is not delude yourself. That's all there is to it. If you be kind to yourself, it will translate. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just agreeing.
But this is what I want to put forth. Be good to yourself, and you will automatically be good to others. It's that easy. Now, how do you be good to yourself? I'm not talking about looking at women and doing weird stuff. I'm talking about taking in the proper nutrition so that you can think clearly and answer those questions clearly. I'm talking about getting right with God and having your soul as pure as it could be. Granted, we're all flawed, understood, but we can work towards sealing those flaws. That's all, really. Work towards it. Work towards the good. And you will find yourself all of a sudden centered. And it may even be jarring for you, but you'll learn to love it real fast. I mean, I've never been the one to use the words "I love you." I don't do it, especially on the internet.
I love you, Vex.
I don't use it because I can't say it unless I absolutely mean it. And quite frankly, I don't know
I mean
a lot of people
I don't
personally.
throw that around willy nilly. I've known you for 2 years. I have the right to say I love you, Vex.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But my point is that I can't say it unless I know someone and feel that way about the person. Now, everybody says, well, yeah, that's the way it should be. But I really mean that as a whole. I can't say it unless I mean it. I can tell my mom I love her all day because I do. I mean it. But I can't say it to just everyone. That's something I'm going to have to work on myself. I actually consider it kind of a deficiency. So that's one flaw that I have to work on.
There's also like different stages of love too, and different types of love. Like there's
Right.
brotherly love, sisterly love. There's paternal, maternal love, your love of your children, which is typically the least corruptible.
Mm,
Like it
yeah.
doesn't matter what a child does to the parent. The parent will always love the child unless the child is like totally horrible, like it just seems like a spawn of Satan kind of
Right.
horrible. And then there's like friendly love, and then there's like love for your favorite sports team or your favorite book. That's a way lesser amount of love. And I do see a lot of diluting of the word. And it seems to often get replaced by the word I like, you
Mhm.
know, and then that it still kind of counts, but you can tell it's not as genuine or sincere of a saying it. Like I love ice cream. I don't really love ice cream, but if you love ice cream, I can understand that.
I love lamp.
I could yeah, I could kind of see like I love chocolate a little more than I love ice cream, but it's kind of in that same family. Some people love steak, so I can see that, but that's not the same love of like a child or your parents or your brother or sister or your cousins or your other relatives.
Or yourself.
Yeah. Also, yeah, that's where a lot of super love deficiency is a
Absolutely.
lot of people don't love themselves enough to care about other people. And they feel like there's a void of love and they try and fill it with other people and their compassion. But compassion for someone else is not necessarily love. It's just compassion.
Hmm. Absolutely. And you guys are overwhelming me in chat. Thank you. I appreciate it. I really do. And welcome, Rhyme of the Ancients. Susanna, good to see you. That's a good point. Um, I did not feel love growing up, so I had a hard time conveying it, maybe even understanding it. But it wasn't until I tried to get myself right that I started seeing it, and it made it more powerful to me. Um, Love is very specific to me. I cannot love one person the same way I love another. It just won't happen. Like you were saying, there's different levels to it. I believe there's different levels in many things. There's always the gray areas and the not so gray areas and the dark areas themselves. But it's a different level for everything. Like, for instance, everyone here, I really do like all of you. I do. And quite frankly, if I was to stop live streaming and forget about YouTube and stuff like that, I would be missing something inside me. But do I love everyone? No, I'm sorry. I would have to get to know you personally and know who you are as a person. That's just the way I feel about it. The one thing that I can say for sure is if you love God, that is returned to you. I mean, I can't say it any plainer. And I had no knowledge of this for most of my life because I didn't understand love itself as I was growing up. I had to be taught.
If I may, also, a lot of like the older Testament style followers believe more in like the fear of God than the love of God, which is kind of counterintuitive. And I was listening to a Michael Savage podcast about a year and a half ago. Nah, it's more than that now. It's probably like 2.5 years ago now. But he kind of came up with a phrase where it's God bless God. you know, where like you're showing your love for God by asking God to bless. I don't like to call God him or her, God themselves, because I believe God is like a more omnipresence than a he or a she. While God may be more fraternal in scripture, I I think that God is also more expansive than that. Like God could be, maternal as well, and there, there's certain maternal instincts and paternal instincts. Like the father will protect the home, and the mother will protect the children through like healing and helping during sickness and such, which aren't typically fatherly roles for the most part. But when you express your love for God by asking God to take care of themselves, I think God can appreciate that. Like, you're not saying, I need you now, God. You're saying, take care of yourself, God, because we need you to stay around as long as possible. I don't know if there is an expiration date on God's longevity, but there could be. And a lot of times people say there's not enough good energy for God's presence to be abundant. And if you help redirect some of God's energy back to God, I believe that is appreciated by God.
Let's see. Now, one of the things when I pray, I it is never set well within me to ask God for things. It's just something with me. So whenever I pray, I'm not, please give me strength, Lord. Please do this. Please do that. It's my prayer consists of thank you. Amen. That's all there is to it for me. I mean, if I got problems, of course I talk to him. But when I pray, I'm not asking anything, because who am I to ask? I'm just Vex. Who am I to interfere with his plan that's already in motion? I don't demand of him. I don't ask things, because whatever will happen according to him or her, whatever. So whatever will be. It will make no difference in me asking for something. It's almost like a point of vanity, I believe. And anyone that, from my understanding of God, anyone that is at that level, I mean, you could think about it as a human, looking down on an ant. That's the way I see it. And who am I to, attempt to derail his plan with my words, with my petty needs? If good things happen to me, they will happen to me because he deemed it. If bad things happen to me, then bad things happen to me because he deemed it that way. So, while I'll treat him like a best friend walking down the road on my way to school and say, yeah, I don't like dealing with this person, blah, 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 blah. But I'm not asking him to help me deal with them. I'm just talking. Now, that's my view on it. You guys obviously will have different views than me, and no problem there. Everybody's entitled to their own view. that's just where I'm at it with it. I have grown
Pretty,
acceptance for whatever happens because I believe in God.
I'm pretty close to that. The only real time I'll ask God for assistance is if I'm very ill. And that's pretty much it. Other than
Yeah.
that, I don't even like to bother God. I'll put it that way. Like
Yeah.
I think about God, I think about what is right by God. I follow a true and as righteous path as possible, but I do not ask for, you know, any of the sins, because to me they're all sins. If you're asking for anything really other than healing from God, in my opinion, you're asking for help with a sin. Like you're either asking for adultery in a way, you're either asking for greed, you're asking for gluttony, and you don't need any of those things. They're not going to really help you at all.
Hmm.
And if anything, I ask God for forgiveness of my astraying ways from the Ten Commandments as they are.
Hmm.
I don't I don't need God's help with day-to-day life.
Right.
And
And
if God chooses to set me down a path of huge toil and huge tribulation and huge trials, it's to strengthen me. And I already understand that. Now, if, I have to go through huge uh, periods of struggle, it's strengthening me. May it also bring me down in certain ways? Sure. But is it lifting me up in the more righteous ways? I think so.
and my view on it is, since well, I'll put it this way. Since I've found God, I have learned many things. And it is because, basically God has deemed it so. In me believing in God, my realization to it is, or my reality of it is, that he already has this all planned out. Everything that has happened and will happen, he already knows. So, like I said, me asking for something or even praying for other people, it won't do any good because it's already been ordained, if that is the proper word to use. That it's already going to happen. It's already has happened. So it's not me going, please give me strength in my daily, life, because my coworker's a dumb shit, that type of thing. That's irrelevant to me, because quite frankly, I believe it would be irrelevant to him. Now, I'm not trying to think for him or anything like that, or put words into his mouth, so to speak. It's just the way I see it, I guess. It's like, I don't know if I can even give an example.
It's like trying to turn the table on fate, which you can't do.
Right. If we're watching a
And
movie
asking,
and you have no access to the movie, like in a VCR or what DVD player, whatever, if you have no access to it, the movie is going to play whether you watch it or not. And that's kind of the way I feel about it. It's already there, it's already going, it's going to stop at some point, and it began at some point. I'm just along for the ride. So whatever he
there are
puts in my path
trillions.
is what I do. And my view
Right.
overall is that we are here to learn every little thing we can. That's it. Meaning of life. You're welcome.
And there are trillions of these foretold stories interlocking with each other's trillions of stories.
Oh,
Like
absolutely.
just because you woke up and you skipped breakfast that morning doesn't mean something crazy is gonna happen to someone else, but you could view it that way, and that's
Absolutely.
not gonna help your impression of life for the good by faulting yourself and guilt tripping yourself into something else happening. Like, I have a lot of deja vu foreshadowing dreams. I don't know what they mean. I don't even always remember them when I wake up. But when the event occurs, I know I already had that feeling that this had already happened before it ever happened. Sometimes in the future by years. Like the most recent one, uh, about a year ago, I had deja vu in the kitchen.
Huh.
I don't know why I had it, but I know I had it. Moments later, there was a knock at the door. Someone had crashed into my car. It was parked and they hit my car.
Hmm.
I already knew that moment was going to happen. So while I'm going through the event of the aftermath of the deja vu, I knew that I already knew that that was going to happen. And there's nothing you can really do to change it because it already occurred. But in the moment, I can feel that occurrence happening, even though I don't know what it is yet. But I already
Yeah.
know that that was supposed to happen for some reason already.
Right.
It's just another thing I have to deal with. But I had this dream that told me this will happen. Don't get upset with it. Don't get angry. Don't get mad. You know, I didn't get angry. I didn't get mad. Just dealt with it, you know? And I'm sure I'll have more deja vu dreams later that happen in real life in the actual physical realm.
Hmm.
But somehow I was foretold that event was going to occur. Now it could be any range of things. Like you could have a foreshadowing and have deja vu right before you die, which would be one of the worst deja vus to happen. But maybe that could help you be at peace with your fatality at that moment in time.
Hmm. Yeah, I get it. Huh.
Because you were already there, you already lived it in your dreamscape. But once it happened in the physical realm and the current uh, aligning of time and space, you were already there. Your soul had already lived that experience.
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's deja vu is something that I grew up with. I was always, it seemed like weekly, at least once a week, I would have some sort of deja vu. And that's kind of one of the things that informed me on what I was talking about earlier, as far as what God has deemed to happen will happen no matter what. Because this is His world, we're just living in it. Or universe, actually. But that's one of the things that informed me of it, because a deja vu is a synchronicity of time. It's something that you have already done and will do and are doing all at the same time. And it's like a point where all time connects. That's probably the best way I can explain deja vu. Is time is, we think of it as linear. You know, it's 12:45 where I'm at right now. In 1 minute, it'll be 12:46. Linear. Where the universe itself and there is some scientific theory about it, that everything is happening now and will happen and has happened. Everything is now for all of your life. Now we pretty much live that way. Like, for instance, I am completely in the present, focused on this live stream, talking with Rebel Jack and the people in the chat, and I am in the present. But I am also in the future, and I am in the past, because I remember my past and I look forward to the future. So it's all at the same point that we're experiencing everything. I don't know if I went off too far in the deep end on that, but yeah.
Well, I'll add
It's
2
Go ahead.
cents to that. It's like I believe when I have a deja vu dream, that is my body in peak transcendence during my slumber, and it has fully tapped for a moment into the galactic conscience. That's what I call it. That's what I've heard it called. That's what makes sense. It's the galactic conscience.
Mm-hmm.
And in the galactic conscience, when you tap into it during your peak REM sleep of transcendence, you can pull from your future. You can pull from your past. If you are a reincarnated soul, you can even tap into past lives. Or if you are to be a reincarnated soul, you may even be able to tap into a future life, because you are and always will be. A soul is light, and light is infinite. So if your soul is infinite and your place in time and space is infinite, and the galactic consciousness is the collective of all souls' knowledge of time and space, all the events from the beginning of the Immaculate Conception to whatever finally happens, if anything finally happens, to the universe or whatnot. You are just merely tapping into a moment of time, and I believe your soul already knows what it was trying to do before it already did it, and it knew when to pull from the galactic conscious the information to embed into your subconscious to recognize when the later event occurs, to center your soul with your body for the moment when that event horizon occurs.
I like it. That makes sense to me.
Sometimes I'm just good.
There you go. See, being honest with yourself. That's a step in the right direction right there. All in all, what it is I believe that, well, to essentially go on with what you were talking about, in that regard, we are all, well, I've used this term before, we are all God's probes into this reality. And it's our job to experience everything we were supposed to experience to bring back to that collective. And he takes that, what we have learned and experienced, and takes it into himself. Because we are all extension of God's will. That's why I say everything is predetermined and stuff like that. We could talk about free will itself. I actually believe free will is an illusion. It's an illusion for our benefit. Because if we didn't believe we had free will, a lot of things we would not experience. As a matter of fact, we would try and do the opposite. Just because we're stubborn little shits on this planet.
Stubbornness is free will.
Yes, exactly. And that's what I mean by it. We use the stubbornness to combat the static preordained what will happen is has already happened type of mentality. Now, I'm not saying that free will is a bad thing. No, we have free will. We think we have free will because God says we do. And that's the way we operate in order to do what God has preordained us to do. It's a part of the psychological makeup of us. It can almost be used in the same vein as an authority figure telling me what to do, and I'd say, "Fuck you! I'm not doing what you tell me."
Fuck you! I won't do what you tell me.
I was just listening to that song earlier. But free will is not a trivial thing to me. It is not. It is there for a reason. Just the same way we have all these complex emotions, and everybody's got a different way of looking at things. It's all within God's realm. Welcome back, Survival.
Welcome back.
But to me, all this sounds simple. I can understand how other people would not think this is that simple and could actually want to argue with me about it. I don't want to argue about it. I'm just giving you my perspective, and I want you to have your own perspective on it, because that's what you're supposed to do. I know it flies in the argument and probably stirs up the argument a little bit, but this is the way we are supposed to be, and we are supposed to learn from our experiences and do better. Simply do better.
Growth cannot occur from stagnation.
Correct. Unless you're a fungus.
No, it's still growing, but it's not truly stagnant because it has to feed off something.
Yeah, I guess I was thinking more or less along the lines of a pond. Sorry, I misspoke.
I've been studying fungus a lot lately, man.
Cool.
Trees love fungus, like we were talking about earlier with the... I'll go into that now, real quickly. I said that a lot of the food that we get in stores is not very nutrient dense. That is occurring through our refined and perfected skills of agriculture.
Oh, you went robot there for a second.
Over time,
restate that.
The soil life has diminishing because of our action and fine-tuning agriculture. And a lot of our agriculture has been focused on growing the same things over and over again. Like, this one farmer is good at growing corn and beans, and that's all he grows for his whole life. And when you do that, the soil life doesn't get the diversity of other plants growing there. Forests are not supposed to be just a monoculture of one type of tree. They have moss growing on the trees. They have vines growing up the trees. They have shrubs growing around the edges of the forest land. They have multiple different types of trees. They also have small little herbs and flowers and other plants along the forest floor. Sometimes they even grow off the branches of trees. And all this helps the biodiversity of the smaller, unable to be seen by the naked eye, microbes and such, funguses and all that. In order to keep that life alive, there needs to be something living in the ground at all times. A living root keeps these microbes and soil biology alive. Through agriculture, typically as it's done, they grow a field of corn, let's just say. After they're done with the harvest, they might compost some of the corn stalks or whatever is left over, and then they might sprinkle it over the top. Even if they're doing it organic, they're not adding soil biology back to the ground, especially if they till the ground. Imagine you running your hand through a spider web. You're cutting through the spider web, and what happens? It falls apart, and then it starts flying all around, and it's destroyed. Apply that underground, and there's the food web, as they call it. Your food likes these organisms growing in the ground because the organisms also feed off the roots. Different roots produce different food, obviously, and different microbes and such like to eat different types of plants. And different microbes also like to eat other microbes. And when they do that, they excrete different byproducts.
Right.
Worms, for example, everybody knows worms produce really good, worm castings to then add nutrients to the ground. But there's also the microbes, the fungi, the nematodes, all these different things, and there's billions, if not trillions, if not freaking sextillions or gajillions of microbes that will never be completely documented. Like all the ants of the world. You can't pinpoint all the ant species in the world. You'll never do it. It's not possible.
Right.
But when you till the ground, you kill all the life in the soil. When you do that and you plant again, you got to start over again. So you're not just planting your next year's crop, you're also trying to plant the soil life again. And the longer you can keep the life in the soil, even through winter, a living root, a perennial, like asparagus, for example, or a dandelion, or a tree, keeps the biology alive through the winter. Because just because, the top half has no leaves and it looks dormant doesn't mean the roots aren't still doing stuff under the ground. And the more life you can keep under the ground, the more nutrient dense the fruits will be above the ground. And also, typical irrigation styles are raising the saltwater table up higher. And the higher the saltwater table goes, the less healthy the plants will be. So the more you understand how a forest operates on its own, and the more you can mimic that with your own growing of a farm or even just a basic garden in your backyard, the more nutrient dense your plants will be. There's been a huge phase of no-till gardening going on for about the past 40 or 50 years, but it's really been getting extremely ramped up in the past 10 years. And there's different types of farming. There's Korean natural farming, which follows the basic rules of what I'm saying. There's permaculture, which was developed in Australia by Bill Mollison and another gentleman, I can't remember his name. Jeff Lawton is he's pretty old, but he's a younger chap, as Australians would call, over there, picking up the ball and rolling with it in Bill Mollison's absence. He died in, I think, 2016. He's got a few PDFs you can download free. I've been reading those lately just to get one out of the National Assembly mental drain I was going through and the news drain. Like those two were kind of like draining me, and I had to step away, and I went and started studying soil biodiversity, companion planting, all these different things. And the more you can mimic nature to create your food sources, the more nutrient dense your food will be. I've seen people growing tropical fruits, tropical trees in Arizona. You're not supposed to be able to grow a banana tree in Arizona. You're not supposed to be able to grow a coconut tree in Arizona. You're not supposed to be able to grow a papaya in Arizona, but I've seen people growing them. Healthy, perfectly fine looking trees in Arizona, which, an avocado doesn't really like Arizona too much unless you baby it, but
Mm.
it's all about proximity and your own little microclimate that you're creating for these different plant species. And the more of each level you fill in, the more each level will produce more dense nutrition. And the soil, I saw this one guy, he had horrible soil. It was like everything was severely subpar for the nitrogen, phosphate, and potassium levels. And after 10 years, his soil is so high and rich in nutrients that he calls it like beyond organic because he doesn't add anything into the ground at all whatsoever other than compost and putting more plants and trees to grow. I mean, if you want to put a row of strawberries in between your orchard, you want to put a row of, cucumbers or cantaloupe or whatever, none of it matters. It's just multiple different types of things. Some things don't like growing next to each other, like garlic and onions are kind of finicky. They're kind of hard to grow with like a lot of things, but for the most part, you can grow anything together with anything as long as you have more than one thing growing. Like when someone puts a plant in a pot, how many times do you see anybody ever plant more than one thing in the pot? Hardly ever at all. But if you planted like 3 or 4 things in one pot, it's going to add more nutrients into the ground that then in turn each of the other plants can pull from the ground and put into each other. And the longer this process goes on, the more nutrient dense your crops will be. And then the more nutrient dense your crops are, the more healthy they are, the less you have to actually eat of them to get all the nutrients out of them. And the more healthy you will be. And also, when you compost these plants after you chop them down and turn them into compost, the nutrient density in the compost will also be even more potent to grow even more severely more nutrient dense food later on. So,
But the only thing that really doesn't
plant more than one thing, basically.
the only thing that makes me question what you were talking about, or well, at least one part of it, is the tilling, not tilling the soil. Now, to me, okay, I guess in what you were saying and not tilling the soil, wouldn't that actually make the plants grow stronger? As in, like the root system and stuff like that, to go through hard dirt rather than soft dirt?
Yeah, they would end up being more hardy. Another part of it is like with heirloom seeds, right? You want to save the seeds from your heirloom seeds to grow them next year. But if you've been growing the same, let's just say 3 strains of tomatoes for 10 years, after 10 years, the genetics of those tomatoes are perfectly acclimated to your area. They know your dirt. They know what food and nutrients they can get from the dirt. They know how the weather is. They know how much sun, the heat, the temperature. They have all that retained within their genetics.
Huh.
Also, if you grow for certain plants, right? Like sunflowers, tubers like beets, carrots, large root crops. They will dig down in the group or in the ground, and then they will push the dirt away. And then when you pick them, what are the roots going to do? They're going to decay. Now those decayed root holes are going to be pores for next year's crop to grow into. So the roots won't have to struggle as much the next year, and they'll be able to freely go in there and they'll push out more. They'll grow their own little different diverting ways as well. The more the roots pore size the soil, the more the water will penetrate into the soil. But when you till the soil, you also cause erosion. And the looser the dirt is on top, the topsoil, the easier it is for wind to blow it away, the easier it is for larger rainfalls to wash it away. And the key also is to keep the ground having something in there, like they do with erosion control, is they plant plants along banks, usually of main highways, to keep the dirt from falling down and blowing away. If
Right.
you
The root
apply that
system holds it
everywhere,
together.
yes, it holds it down and it keeps it compact. And if you keep the microbes allowed to live with more roots constantly always being in there, and you rotate the crops different times, like you don't want to plant tomatoes in the same spot every year. You want to pick a few rows, grow tomatoes there,
Rotate.
pick a few rows, grow some okra there, pick a few rows, grow some corn there, and then the next part of the season, then you can add like some broccoli, some garlic, some rutabagas, some radishes, whatnot.
Because different
And-
plants will take different nutrients out of the soil.
And they'll also
So a tomato
this
plant
is the fun
would.
part.
Real quick, I'm trying to grasp the understanding. I was never good at gardening or anything like that. So my understanding is that if you keep planting the same tomato plants in the same spot, it's going to deplete what the tomato plants take in, and eventually it'll produce probably a bad tomato plant. If you rotate it out, different plants take different nutrients, so it's almost like rotating it. And one other thing, that's why I put this up. It said my dad made us pick up cow pies and dead salmon in wheelbarrow loads. And then you till it up into the soil. Well, that's replenishing what was taken out, from my understanding, correct?
Correct. That's not a bad way to replenish the soil.
Right.
What would be better is what I've seen a lot more now going on with the craze of what I'm speaking of, is instead of using a till, they'll use a spike seeder. So imagine the little tubes that they have in the spike strips for flattening your tires, right?
Right.
But instead it shoots the seed down instead. So it'll poke a hole, put the seed down far enough so it'll grow, and then you can water it later. But if you till stuff into the soil, you're adding stuff to feed the biology of the soil, primarily worms, because bigger things are going to get ate by worms. Most of the small stuff eats off of the root nodules, and most roots produce like a starch, and then they eat the starch, and then while they're eating, they poop, and then they poop nutrients for the plant to eat, and it's already right there next to the root because the roots are producing starches and such for the microbiology to eat.
Right.
And then the food chain of life, smaller things get ate by bigger things, and when they eat those things, all the microbes got ate by a nematode, and then the nematodes get ate by amoebas or worms or what. I'm not 100% correct on there, but
Whatever the chain is.
small fish gets ate by the big fish, and the big fish gets ate by the bigger fish, and the bigger fish gets ate by the shark, and all that's true up until you get to like a whale, and he just eats plankton. So
Yeah.
that's a different story. But the cool thing is the legume family. Legume family is like beans, peas, and nuts. Usually, not always. Usually nuts. And there's a few other fruits that are actually in the legume family. But what they have a keen act to do is they can pull nitrogen from the air. They can pull aromatic nitrogen and put it down into the soil. So if you have a good spattering of nitrogen legumes, they will add nitrogen into the ground. And then when you plant something there later, it's going to get a lot of boost, mainly grassy, leafy grass looking things like corn needs a lot of nitrogen because it's a grass. A lot of grains like a lot of nitrogen, stuff like that.
Right.
So other plants also do that with other nutrients, and there are a few plants that are called dynamic accumulators, and they will pull certain specific nutrients out of the ground, be it iron, phosphates, potassiums, stuff like that. You can either compost them and then lay the compost over the ground, or you could do the cheap, easy way and just cut them down and let them lay there. And they'll decay, and when it rains, the nutrients will wash off of them and go into the ground. So there's multiple ways to do all this, but it all is an accumulation of time, because you can't just go right into it. It needs the 3Ds: dedication, determination, and discipline. You need to follow those.
Oh, that's good advice right there. One of the things you said earlier, about planting, it kind of clicked in my head, because I remember being told the story a long time ago when I found this what I thought was a stick that kind of looked like a gun. So I was using it, as a kid, as like it was a gun, but it had a point on the end where the end of the gun barrel would be. And I was playing with it, and he goes, I don't remember if it was my grandpa and my uncle. But one of them said, "Do you know what that is?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's my gun." And he goes, "Well, no, that was used to plant seeds in hard soil." And I was like, "Well, Grandma tills up, her garden, so she doesn't need it, right?" And he's like, "Yeah, but it's basically it goes along with what you were saying about not tilling and stuff like that." They said they'd use this to plant the seeds. They'd punch a hole in the ground and drop a seed down there, and then sometimes he said they kick dirt on it or just leave it. But he said you kick dirt on it to keep birds from going and getting the seed, and the stick allows you to plant it deep enough. Yeah, or squirrels or anything else. Well, allows you to plant it deep enough to where it's hard to get by the wildlife. And that kind of clicked in my head when you were talking about it, because I physically had one of those old tools, and he said it was from the Civil War or that era. So that kind of clicked in my head when you said it, because I remember having one in my hand, and he's like, "Yeah, that's real old," but it was used to plant the seeds in hard soil. And from what I remember of him talking about it was that it was kind of commonplace to do it that way. I mean, you planted it like that in the hard soil. You didn't till it, but he talked about rotating the land and the crops on the land still. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I don't know that exactly, but I can understand the concepts there.
Okay.
He would use like the stick. I don't know the specifics of the stick other than it looks like a gun and it had a pointy end.
Right.
But that's all you really need is a hard good stick, and you'd ultimately want it longer, so you didn't have to bend over as much. Because if you don't have a huge oxen or a huge bull or a huge horse to pull your till, the easiest way is to just walk along with the stick, stab it in the ground, drop a seed in there or a few, and go about like an equal pace and just stab another hole, drop some more in there. And ultimately, you wouldn't walk around and put a whole row and then another row and another row and another row and another row of all the same thing. You would ultimately want to plant them properly spaced based on how much of size they get in the end that you predeterminedly should know at that point, and plant them properly spaced from each other. Because you could plant a row of, beans, and then very next row you could plant a row of corn. Very next row you could plant a row of squash. Very next row you could plant a row of some herbs. Very next row you could plant a row of berries or something, and then along the side of like your trees or whatnot, you could do the same thing with things that like to grow next to trees, like edge of forest plants, primarily shrubs, blackberries, boysenberries, I think. Those big shrubby plants like to grow along the edge of a forest. So you would have your windbreak of trees, which could be oaks or even fruit trees. Or you could have, your large oaks in one row, and then just in from the windbreak, you could have good spacing, and then plant some fruit trees. And then next to those, you could plant a good spacing of some shrubs to grow berries. Ultimately, you want to plan for your light source and your prevailing wind. Your wind will destroy your plants. Huge rains will destroy your plants. But if you also mimic the mountain ranges, you could also pre-plan for how the water will come down your land, especially if it's got some slope to it. You could mimic like a river or a creek and have those go into irrigating your main typical gardening areas. I'll let you discuss what you put up here.
Yeah, essentially I tried to basically type in seed planting stick just because I didn't remember what they were called. This is basically what I had, except for it was, imagine it like a cane handle, curved at the end. And that's essentially what I had. And yeah, that was one of those things. He was, he was wanting to explain to me that, they used that to punch holes in the dirt so they didn't have to till it up. But yeah, I just wanted to throw a picture, an illustration up there to show what I was talking about.
Yeah. It's like, what is that? Tools video of the pot. Imagine that, right? He's going out there and he's planning. He was all bent over and doing it or whatever, but it was a lone man out in his field planting seed by seed. He didn't have like a huge oxen or a bull tilling the ground. He planted them by hand. So that was easier for them. You did what was easiest for you, and you used the knowledge you had to create the abundance that required you to sustain yourself.
Yeah.
And also you sprinkle in livestock, get that good chicken manure, the cow patties, you get the goat manure, you get the, if you got quail around, if you got ducks around, all that different stuff. And a lot of times you don't have to ranch these animals either. They could just be wild fowl that fly around in your area, and then they go
Mhm.
find whatever and they poop next to it, and they fertilize the plant. A lot of people get upset, or you could see it as a win-win. They might be eating some of your plants, but they're fertilizing it for later in the season or the next rotation of season.
Right.
Also, if they're abundant on your land because of what you planted out there, they're very easy to hunt because they're already on your land. You ain't got to go anywhere. You see a flock of ducks flying around, or even geese. You just shoot the one that you want or can get, and then you go get it, eat it, and whatever's left, throw in your compost pile.
Yeah.
Bones are very helpful for the nutrition of soil. You get the calcium. Plants need calcium. Calcium builds strong bones. It also builds strong branches and stems.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've learned a lot about planting just tonight. Jeez.
That's what I've been studying for, shoot, I don't know, 4 or 5 months lately, on and off. Mostly on, a little bit off. Mostly lately. I gotten
Okay,
the,
it's- Go
I
ahead.
gotta meditate on the information. I can't just, keep hitting it because I'm not gonna absorb it right. I need to let it sink in, let my brain. I've always been good at allowing my subconscious to take over on certain thoughts and studies and ideas, to allow my subconscious to re-bring it to my conscious mind for me to uh, refocus the thoughts and understanding of what I was thinking on. It's not easy for a lot of people, but I've been good at that a lot of time. Like for the National Assembly information, I've taken no notes whatsoever other than minutes for
Right.
meetings. Other than that, I really haven't tried to take notes or nothing. And a lot of people, they have to take notes, and I understand it. But for some reason, for me, I'm pretty good, as you know, about retaining information without having to actually focus, take notes, and study. I've been like that all through school. I think that's part of the reason why I was really good at math, because I could see the problem, have it explained to me, understand what happened while the teacher was explaining it. And quite often, I helped teach the other peers around me better than the teacher did, because I could understand the teacher, but they couldn't. And then I could help explain it to them because I'm more on their mental spectrum of understanding
Right.
than the teacher was. Because the teacher will go off on tangents that aren't helpful, and then they get lost because goldfish memory is goldfish
Right.
memory.
Hell yeah. Yeah, it's well, as far as that goes, I'm in kind of in the same boat. I do take notes, but it's usually highlighted notes or a phrase, that type of note taking. I've never been good at writing down a bunch of stuff all at once. With me, I have to immerse myself in it to learn it. For instance, as well as I do, back in the old days when we were hanging out on Ricky's stream and stuff like that, we would talk about a lot of different things. But I learned better, like listening to people talk about stuff and explaining things and getting different points of views and stuff like that. I learned more that way than I do about reading a document or essentially just reading, from the get-go. So
Yeah, I appreciate study groups because the group
yes,
collective of understanding can help me understand more than me just trying to learn something on my own. Which
oh yeah,
sucks because right now I'm trying to learn this whole permaculture, companion planting, biodiversity subject, but there's pretty good plethora of videos on YouTube and documents and websites to aid in that.
Yeah.
But it's not quite the same for assembly stuff. Sure, we got the national call. There's a few lesson calls, but it's hard to discuss certain things when the knowledge level isn't similar, at least, which is
Yes.
one thing I always projected into the minds of newcomers to our state assembly call
Mm-hmm.
was, I don't care if you get more information and understand more faster than me, because that's not going to help just me. That's going to help you, and that's going to help everyone else.
Right.
If I studied the Act 1871 and Magna Carta and, the 10 steps to an assembly pretty well, but you understood the Virginia Company, the other stuff, you're going to be able to help me understand what you were learning.
Exactly.
Have a good night, Survival.
Yeah, take care, Survival. Sweet dreams, man.
I do that too. I'm good at making people get distracted. I pull Alex Jones every once in a while, I'm just go on tangents and nobody can really understand what I'm saying because globalists are fish minding everybody so they can't understand what's going on. I'm not trying to pride anybody's knowledge level. I'm just trying to explain what I'm trying to express, and not a lot of people can understand what I'm expressing because I go on all these tangents, and the intergalactic demon aliens are taking over your schools.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it, though, what you said a little while ago. What we were doing on the live streams and stuff like that, it was a study group. We compared, even if it wasn't talking about the assembly, we were talking about current events and stuff like that. There was a lot of times I didn't know what current events were going on because I had just gotten off of work and just trying to, get a handle on what's going on and stuff like that. But I was filled in by you guys, and I was able to interact, and we talked about it, and we showed a video or brought up a document or something like that to where it became a study group, even if it was just talking about, the stupid COVID, or whatever. So yeah, that's an excellent way to put it, a study group. And quite frankly, I'd like to look at, my live streams as a study group, because, teaching is kind of what I've become. So, or a teacher is what I've kind of become as well. I'd like to think so anyway. But using this as a platform to help other people is awesome. Now, unfortunately, we have to deal with other stuff like, the algorithms and stuff like that. But yeah, passing along information that has been lost throughout the ages. Can't say too many ages, but it has been basically forgotten in the recent years. It needs to be reaffirmed and re-put out there. And yeah, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up tonight. Thank you very much, Rebel Jack, for coming up here and explaining all that. That's awesome news, and I'm glad that you put it out. Excuse me, that you put it out there for us to learn from. Even though it might not be, the only way to do planting and stuff like that. There's, from my understanding, several different ways to do things. But this is one way that I didn't really consider. So I appreciate that a great deal. And all in all, I want everybody to check with yourself tonight before you go to sleep. Check with yourself. Make sure if there's something bothering you, ask yourself questions. Why is it bothering me? What caused it to bother me? And so on. And answer them honestly for yourself. All right. Once again, thank you, Rebel Jack, for coming up here. I'd like to thank Survival for coming up. I'd like to thank Latin Patriot for coming up. I'd like to thank all of you in chat for interacting all night with me. I appreciate it greatly. And I want to see you keep coming back. I want you guys to jump up here with me whenever I throw out the link so that, we can bring different perspectives in and discuss it. Study group time. And with that, I yield. And I bid you all good night and sweet dreams.
Good night,